It's like he's still here.
He is still here.
Come through
I got
the
his
door.
little picture up there on the wall. All right, so just a little housekeeping. You're welcome to chat while we're doing this. Just background noise is not a problem. Don't be too yelling. And you saw our bathroom code over there, 0315 for those two restrooms there. What else do I need to tell you? Cameron's here. That's always a good day when Cameron's here.
Yay, Cameron.
Franz is
Yay.
here. Annie Elmore, our executive director, is here today.
Oh, thanks.
Bridget, one of our class instructors here at the hot stove, is going to be on the mic.
Hi, guys.
She has a 20-plus year history of teaching mostly children.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, I guess. Aren't we all, Tom?
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all
No, she was
6-year-olds at heart?
Instructor at the Art Institute for 21 years for culinary and has been here for 10 years now. So
Amazing,
it'll be 10
huh?
years in July, I want to say. Hot stove.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Sean's over there is our technical wizard, and Becky is our producer who took over for Pamela, who's going to be our first guest today.
Yay.
You have your taste of the week in your head?
I do.
Okay, good. Here we go. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Happy to have you all here. And we were just lamenting before the show started that our pal Terry has now gone 3 weeks, and we are super sad. If you don't listen to the show every week, you'll find that he's not here anymore. He had some issues with his lung transplant and did not survive it, and it was the saddest thing I've gone through in a long time. It's not all about me, though.
No,
I know he
had to do it.
From the outpouring of love that I saw after he passed a few weeks back around this entire city and country, and it's he will be missed.
Yeah,
and
he's floating around here somewhere.
I hope Kathy's doing good. I owe Kathy a phone call. I was trying to give her some space.
Yeah,
but I definitely it's time to
check back in,
sync with her. On our show today, we are running in 24, 25 years. Somebody's got a phone on. Turn that baby off. We are going to have a large show today. Pamela Hinckley is here to talk about her new job. You'll remember her as our producer for a few years. When she left, everyone was super sad. But I told people that she was going off to save the world.
Yes,
which is a fantastic
which she's wanted
thing
to do.
I just wish she wouldn't do it on my time, but so it is. And I also told people that if they really missed her, send her a check at the Pike Place Senior Center and Food Bank.
That's a great idea.
And I'm not sure if you got any radio show checks, Pamela, but they come rolling in because these things don't happen on their own, right?
Absolutely.
So
you didn't mention that she was your
godmother of my CVO, Chief Vegetable Officer for 15 years. CEO, godmother of my daughter and grandkids.
Oh,
Are
really?
You a great godmother. Yeah.
You are?
My
for 3?
Goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, so she is intertwined. She can't escape us. She's now the executive director of the Pike Place Market Senior Center and Food Bank and joins us to discuss the organization's fabulous work. And I've actually agreed to make a donation if she didn't sing for the Figgy Pudding contest that's coming up on December 1st.
It better be a big donation.
Oh, now she's mad.
We're going to sing this morning.
Uh-oh.
Laura Hamilton, the owner of the fabulous Book Larder cookbook store, will be sharing some of her new favorites just in time for the holiday over there in Fremont. She gets all the authors, man. She is strong.
She's a bookstore. That's what they go after, you know.
She's more than that.
We sell more books than they do when we have an author.
Hey now.
Wow, listen to that.
It's true. It's 24. We bring in 24, 26 books.
Oh, we're going to talk to Fuchsia Dunlap about her new book. We did some interviews with her last week after the show because she was unable to make it to our time slot. So we have 2 segments with her. The story of Chinese food, and it's very different. You know, we did that thing with Grace Lynn in the Chinese menu, and she's very serious.
Very
Oh.
serious
Very serious.
and charming.
She speaks, reads,
intelligent.
writes Chinese, and she is.
She's a Brit.
Well, she's a Brit,
Yeah.
but she's also intense.
Yes.
She dives in. I think the last person I met like her was Barbara Trop, who
Okay.
used to have the China Moon restaurant in
Wow.
San Francisco, and one of my favorite all-time cookbooks. If somebody were to make me write down top 5,
Okay.
China Moon cookbook would be in that situation. We're enhancing dishes with compound butter. I think it's an undiscovered secret for a lot of people. Compound butter.
Yeah. They
Terry
don't-
loved it. He
Yeah.
always kept it in his freezer, but I'm not one to keep it in the freezer very long because it tastes like the freezer. I like it more fresh. Loretta is going to be here. My daughter and legal counsel for our company is going to be here for her shortcut to scratch segment. And Casey Jones and John McCarthy will be sharing holiday tips. I love their new book. Every cocktail has a twist. So it's, this whole cocktail craze is intense
Yes.
because you have to have so many ingredients around. But this one is just 25 classic cocktails, and then you just twist them. Just do little variations with some fresh.
Great. I love
citrus
that.
so I think it's a nice idea to kind of not have to have all that stuff in the house.
And they have a lot of tips for us too on how we can entertain the holidays. That would be great.
Perfect. All right. Of course, we're going to wrap up the show with Tasty Trivia, which I fully intend on kicking Bridget's butt.
Whatever, Tom.
Whatever, Brigitte.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Since you're sitting in Terry's chair, we're going to call you Brigitte today.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right.
I would be honored.
Yes, indeed. You should be. Taste of the week, Miss Charters.
Taste of the week. So recently, a few days ago, I talked to Sean McFadden
Uh-huh.
and asked him about duck since he worked over at Dahlia Lounge. And
I didn't remember you worked there, Sean. Wow, I forgot all about that.
Only 6 years.
You've been
Sean
here
was there
since we
for
opened
6
this.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, I was like, Sean, what do I do? This friend wants to cook duck. So we were going to roast it. And then Sean said, well, we rotisserie. And so a lot of grills now have a rotisserie on it. Like duck, what? Huh?
Yeah,
And,
you got to be careful in an indoor duck. There's a lot of fat.
Oh, I know.
A 5-pound duck has over 2 cups of fat that renders.
Oh my
out of
God,
it.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, our grill's outside, and it's a DCS. It's got a big long thing, spit. So we put on 3 duck. We did the Dahlia Lounge with the thyme, bay, orange
Yeah.
on the interior, and then rubbed the outside and started roasting it. Instead of putting potatoes underneath, so as it was on the spit, we put a pan underneath, and we had squash
Ooh, yeah.
left over. So we carved that up, threw a few carrots in there, and it was about 2 cups of duck per 2 cups of fat per duck.
Yeah.
Did you save the fat?
The squash cooked in the fat.
Wow.
Yeah, but you must have had extra fat.
Oh, totally. We
Yeah.
saved it all, and it was this golden color.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it was so good.
You know how you know when your duck is done? When you've finished sipping a bottle of red wine. Let's see, your last
Oh,
glass, you're kind
my
of timing
God.
it to the crispy skin. And
Yeah,
then-
the guys kept asking, and I'm like, baste it, just baste it. So they were taking the fat and basting it,
Uh-huh.
and then they hit it with a little bit more salt, and I was like, temp it.
Right on the money, huh?
Yeah,
So
it was
when I get it
beautiful.
off, when I take it off the grill at that point, I let it rest,
Yeah,
and then
we
I
did that.
carve it up, and I, trim it into a breast section and a leg thigh section.
Yeah.
And then I put that skin side down on a sizzle platter to
Oh,
kind
you
of crispen up the
Pretty.
skin.
Oh, that's a good
So
tip.
delicious.
Tip to the tip.
Exactly. Why not?
Duck's one of those things. Like if you buy it frozen, it's he said they were $43 each, but they were slacked out at Ballard Town and Country Market, and they were
Uh-huh.
$23 each duck.
I know I think they're surprisingly inexpensive. They are less per pound than many of the organic chickens are.
Yeah.
But they're not organic, generally.
Delicious.
They're the maple leaf out of Arkansas.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Well, I had a duck from Chinatown yesterday,
Oh,
and that is one of my favorite things to do. Is I'll take it off the bone, I'll put it skin side down, and I'll re-therm it skin side down in a pan so that the skin gets nice and crunchy. Make a little fried rice to go with it,
Mm.
and
so
Again,
good.
You should be finished the entire. I mean, it's hard for me to even get the duck home before I eat it all.
In
But,
the car.
but you should be finished your wine before you finish the duck. You got to do a bottle.
What wine?
Last night, what did I have last night? I had a little Ponet, Ponet,
Oh, I've had
Cante
that.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, little Bordeaux,
Nice.
2008.
Yum.
Still sipping beautifully.
So is your duck place that one next to Shanghai Garden off of Main there in Chinatown?
I
That,
go. It's called King's Barbecue House.
yeah,
And
that's
Han
cool.
and his wife, Ham and his wife, actually run it there. So super
Fun.
fun. Why not? I always have lunch first at the Tai Tung. I have a little Chinese greens with fish at the Tai Tung,
Yum.
and then I walk
That's
around
so
the
good.
corner
That
to
sounds good right
pick
now.
up my second course at King's Barbecue House.
Delicious.
Yum!
Yum.
Yum. All right, when we come back, we're going to have Pamela at the mic. She's the executive director now of the Pike Place Market Senior Center and Food Bank. You're listening to us on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Oh, there it is.
Uh-oh.
A great poster.
What did that cost you to produce?
You know what? We found the best printing company on East Lake. They were 29 cents a piece to have them printed at G&H. It was incredible. I was going to tell Michael Todd about it. Hey, what? No.
They're nice. The Hot Stove sending it to you?
The company is.
What?
TD and Co. is sending a team to Figgy Pudding.
Oh, are we?
A very festive one.
Are you going?
You look
Tom?
scared.
And
Tom.
we're back. We're in the kitchen here at the Hot Stove Society Show. We are in the beautiful Hotel Andra, 4th and Virginia, downtown Seattle, second floor, all the way in the back where our school is here. We do both private events and public classes here at the Hot Stove.
And we're busy.
And it's busy. Yeah, it's got a full house this time of year, which is awesome, including our radio show. So you can always just give tickets to the radio show for Christmas. Why not? We just announced our all sorts of things that are coming up here at the end of December.
New Year's Eve?
Yeah, we got that coming. But first, let's talk Pamela. We
Yes.
only have a few minutes with Pamela. So Pamela moved on. You'll recognize her voice here as the producer of our show. She moved on about 10 weeks ago to the Pike Place Market Senior Center and Food Bank.
Woohoo!
And yeah, exactly. Woohoo. And as I like to say, you're saving the world. And you've always had this in you. This has been something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. is-
Yep. Brought up that way by my mom.
yeah, give back to our
Give back.
community. You've always done it, even when you've been working in commercial environments. You've always made sure
Yes.
that you've helped the community on the other side of that. As something that we've always said here at our company, and you were part of that, which was
Well,
We
you
try to
allowed
make
me
it-
to do a lot.
we try to make enough money as a company to give back to our community. 'Cause if you don't make money, you can't give it back.
Right.
So anyway, their time, talent, and treasure are now focused on the Pike Place Market Senior Center. Tell us about what you do there every day.
Well, we're spread across 3 buildings. We've got a food bank down on Western Avenue that's open 5 days a week. We have a big program of no-cook bags for our unhoused population that's available every day. We do grocery distribution Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we do home deliveries on Wednesday and Friday that are customized to the recipient's dietary preferences, which is pretty amazing.
Right.
For home delivery.
So this is for all ages, right? You
yeah,
do this,
food banks, everybody.
because you're at the senior center too.
Yep. So sometime at the food bank, sometime at the senior center. And the remarkable thing about the senior center is everything is free.
That's amazing.
You have to join with an ID, but it's free, and all of the services are free. And we're open 7 days a week, 2 hot meals a day, which
Wow.
is very unusual in the human services, because I think you might remember that there's been some talk about what do you do when you find somebody on the weekend in need of help. There's a lot of crisis lines and stuff,
Right.
but to have people available with case managers and food
Wow.
inside bathrooms, it's remarkable.
And
So
when
how
you,
do you get a day off?
but when you say services, what do you mean? I understand the food portion, but what are the other?
Case management
Mhm.
and information and assistance, because there is a wonderful labyrinth of services in Seattle, but they're hard to find,
Yeah.
especially
You're facilitating those.
yeah. So we have information and assistance people, and then we have social workers too.
Mhm.
So, and then we have activities.
Wonderful.
Right.
You got to
Which is
come
right
to
up your alley.
Yeah, you got to come to the line dancing, the karaoke. We do Tai Chi, art classes.
No doubt craft classes.
I haven't
Right.
gotten them started yet.
Pam, come
I know
on.
it's getting in the way. But on to today's
Time.
topic.
Okay, what's
Oh.
today's topic?
Today's topic is our annual fundraiser, Figgy Pudding. It's in its 38th year.
That's amazing.
Amazing. It was downtown in Westlake for many years, and last year we moved back to our home, the Pike
Wonderful.
Place Market.
oh.
So the only limitation of that is we had to cap the number of teams, because when we were here at Westlake, we could spread out all over downtown, but staying in the market, we had to cap it at 25 teams because we have some big
Wow.
teams.
How many people on a team?
It varies. You have
Varies,
to
yeah.
have 5,
Okay.
but we've got one team that's got 100.
Oh my.
Wow.
We've got a couple
They
of teams that
sing
have
choral groups and
yes,
stuff. Wow.
Yes.
This is
they're
so you.
all choruses, and we have to find room to spread them all out.
Uh-huh.
And this is your largest fundraiser of the year, is that correct?
Yes. And so we call the teams kind of the heart of Figgy Pudding, because the beauty of it is that they help us with the fundraising,
Yes.
and people get to vote for their favorite teams. We have
Oh.
creative and choral, and a philanthropy award for the team that raises the most money. And
So they're out there raising money even before the first.
yeah,
Yeah.
more money comes in actually before the event,
Uh-huh.
which is next Friday, December 1st.
Nice.
So we're keeping our eye on the website, because the teams have their own pages, and they try to convince their friends to donate and vote for them.
So it's free to people that want to just come watch.
Oh, absolutely.
And then it's, bring $5 or bring
Bring
$500,
$5,
whatever
we
you can
have
afford.
the collectible button, of course.
Very
Every year
valuable.
there is the Figgy Pudding button that the
Wow.
diehards all festoon over their coat. So you'll be a proud owner of one of those buttons.
I think our company has a team. Is that right?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and they're
What's the name?
the Holly Dollies.
What? Wait.
As a
wait.
Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
Are they going to dress up like Dolly Parton?
Well, I have seen some very cute pictures of, Amy Richardson, who's the business
Awesome.
development person.
And
Yeah.
a big Dolly fan.
Big
Yeah.
Dolly fan. So she's been posting pictures of her parents wearing these kooky
Oh my
Dolly
god.
Parton wigs.
That's
That is
awesome.
awesome.
So that team's going to be big too. So you might want to vote for them, Tom.
I want to make sure they stay on our corner down there in front of Seatown. That's what I'd like.
No, they're going to rehearse there, but they've got a very beautiful spot on the Desmond Bridge.
Oh.
So they're kind of
very
lucky if
nice.
it rains, they're going to be undercover.
Both you and I used to know Joe Desmond. Isn't that funny? to think?
Yeah. And the family,
We're old.
The family's still active and
Uh-huh.
has a matching campaign with the Market Foundation next year.
Uh-huh.
So that's they're keeping the market alive.
I was
That's
lucky
great.
enough to meet him this year at the
So-
Sunset
So
Club.
Pamela, how does the event go if people come from out of town and want to wander around the figgy pudding thing?
Well, first
says
you
here
hole
that
up
it's
here
from-
at the Hotel Andra.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, you
that's
could
a
spend the
great
night.
idea.
Be your home base.
In at the
Yeah.
market,
In
you
at the
could look
market.
out and see all of the
Yeah.
choirs singing on the street.
Yeah.
Oh, charming!
You can enter from any of the access points of the market.
So
and
the
just
market will
walk
all
in
be closed off, and you
Yeah.
just wander around and
Yes.
listen to all the different groups.
to the choirs. We've got some of the merchants staying open. Starbucks is helping by selling hot chocolate and donating the proceeds, but me, some, and Beechers, a lot of people will be open so you can get a
Uh-huh.
snack.
Oh, very fun. So then you just wander around, and your people give out forms that you
Yep.
fill out.
So you can find all the teams, and then there's a stage show. Tom, I think you should come and help me do the ask.
Oh,
that
do
night.
you?
Yeah.
You could be. He could be the MC.
Well, we have talent for the MCs, but I thought
Uh.
maybe Tom could help me.
I'd be happy to, depending on the
Whoa.
time. I know I'm teaching here on that first lunch and early evening, but I don't know what time you need.
Okay,
but I'm
we'll
happy
talk
to.
about that off camera.
Okay.
Oh, I've got a Santa hat you can borrow.
I'm sure
Tom.
some of our Cairo listeners would be happy to donate some money to the Pike Place Market.
I know
Senior
they
Center.
will.
Yeah.
I'm also going to leave with a figgy pudding story
Okay.
because this whole thing was, and this is a cooking show.
That's right.
It was inspired by Christmas pudding,
Mhm.
which we get to enjoy every year on Christmas Eve with
Mhm.
our friend Peggy Dow, who
Yep.
uses persimmons. But the history of figgy pudding was with figs and meat. And so it's a very rich, steamed concoction. But the beauty of it is flaming it.
Mhm.
You have to have a hard sauce and a big quart of brandy to light it on fire.
And we all love that, don't we?
Yeah, that's why we eat it.
Is it delicious?
Brandy, and it's so delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a pretty heavy brandy, like a pretty high alcohol brandy to make it last a little bit of time. And you also another trick is to heat the brandy and then light it.
Oh,
the
starter.
fumes of the
That's a pro tip.
yeah, when you put it in a lighter in the cold brandy, it doesn't really work. But if you heat it up and get it fuming, then you
You
can
get the woof.
then you
the
can
woof
Yes.
of
blow your
sound.
face off. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, okay. So
December 1st, come to the market.
December 1st, we'll see you
6:15.
there.
Figgy pudding.
I'll be strolling around and watching the Holly Dollies
Holly Dolly.
singing from our team, and then all the other 24 teams will be coming in last. When we come back, Laura Hamilton's going to join us. She's the founder owner of the Book Larder, a community bookstore over there in Fremont on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Pam.
Ah, good luck.
And you didn't have to sing.
These guys are singing. You're singing. Oh,
Friends of
No, they sing 6. Oh, right.
It's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can put that underneath.
Look who's here.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I can move on.
You know, here we are.
This is season.
Yes, exactly.
Good to see you.
Actually, you too.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Bye, sweetie.
Why, thank you so much.
I did.
All right.
Did not bring the Eric Care book.
Since he dumped us.
Also, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, I don't know. You like him, great. But look, that's all brand new,
Wow.
freshly reissued,
Oh.
and that's for you.
You know,
can
we only
talk
have
about
like
it or
10
not.
minutes, right?
Yeah, but that's for you.
The new one. Do you want me to grab the other one?
I've got one to share with you.
Oh, great.
And then
We'll give it away.
Oh, did you have it already?
Well, we interviewed her for 2 segments already.
Of course, yeah.
but she was in New York Times too, book review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good review.
And she was
Yeah.
right on the front table when I walked in Barnes & Noble the other day. So she's getting good placement.
Good, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Did you have a
book.
good time with her?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you have any particular?
You know which
order
one I'm in love with is Grace Lynn's book.
I know. We don't have. It's
Did it sell?
Oh, it sold really well.
Good.
Yeah. We're trying to get more for the holidays. I was gonna bring it, but you've already talked about it so much.
Did anyone say they heard about it on the show? Or do you know? You don't
We
really know.
actually had her in the day before the book came out,
Right.
and so
We
yeah.
had been running it we ran it for 7 weeks.
Yeah. No, it's excellent. Do you have any particular order you want to go in?
Nope.
Okay.
We have 10 and a half minutes.
Oh, well, that's plenty of time.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
How do I want to do this? Yeah, it looks really good. This is the baking one. It's the classics. Nancy Silverton,
Yeah.
sort of her pandemic book, basically. And the cookie is a peanut butter cookie. That's the cookie
That's good.
yeah.
Awesome.
so I thought,
It's not the Nora
we
Ephron,
love.
though.
No.
Oh, I
It's
thought.
a Roxana Julepat cookie that she then took and added the peanut butter and the peanuts.
Oh, I was
to,
hoping it was the Nora
basically.
Ephron one.
And it is, it
got a
sort
lot
of
of miles
started
out of
this whole
that.
thing of like taking classics and making the best version of
Yeah.
them. And
We're doing the
yeah.
same thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Should we get going?
And we're back. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Woo-hoo! It's a party around here today. How was your blueberry muffin so far, team? So good. I'm glad to hear that. Got breakfast coming. Annie and Franz are on it.
They're delivering
They're
away.
delivering away. Are they already?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Tom Douglas,
And I'm Bridget Charters.
and we are. You are Brigitte. You're sitting in Chef
Oh,
Terry's,
sorry, that's
Oui,
right.
oui.
I'm in Terry's
Chef,
spot.
Chef Terry's chair, and so you're Brigitte. And
Chartres.
one of my favorite
my
names that
last
Terry used to say, which I never knew how to say really, was Genevieve. I always thought it was Genevieve,
Oh.
but it's Genevieve.
Genevieve.
Yeah.
And I love that when he would say that. Genevieve. Genevieve, welcome to the microphone. Laura Hamilton is here, founder owner of the Book Larder, a community bookstore in Fremont. You brought a pile of books, and I know this is the biggest time of year for cookbooks. This and Mother's Day, I believe, are the 2 big cookbook
Yes.
holidays. But you have brought a pile today.
I have also because some of them are big, and so it looks like a bigger pile than
Uh-huh.
it might be. But yeah, there's so many great new titles out for sure.
I have been, as you know, promoting Grace Lynn's book called
Yeah.
Chinese Menu. I love that. I got to talk. We're going to have Fuchsia Dunlop on the show today, which is a more serious version of Grace Lynn's book, Chinese Menu, because it talks a little bit about the history of Chinese food. So she's going to be on the show later today. Tell us what you've brought with you today.
Yeah, so I brought just a selection of books since we're so close to the holidays that I thought would make excellent gifts, but also just books that people would enjoy for themselves. So first I have
So let's stop there for 1 second.
Yes.
Because when I was writing a cookbook, I was told explicitly by my publisher that people don't read cookbooks cover to cover, so you can repeat yourself throughout the book. And then the first thing I heard from people after they got my book is like, took it to bed last night, I read it from cover to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which is it?
Yeah.
Great.
Cover to
well,
cover.
I mean, like anything, it's not one way or the other. I mean, I'm someone who loves to read a book from cover to cover, but then even then, if I go to make a recipe, it's nice to be reminded of maybe a technique that was mentioned in another part of the book or something like
Yeah,
that.
because I think they tell a story about who's cooking, the chef, the writer. They tell a story about their history of cooking. I I'm a cover to cover guy when it comes to books.
Yeah,
cookbooks,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I think, we find a lot of people, our neighborhood in sort of Upper Fremont is full of young people who are in their first apartments and things like that, who have basically spent a lot of time on the internet,
Mhm.
looking at
Right.
recipes and things like that. And they come to us because they want they want to learn and they want
Right.
like a whole point of view. And a cookbook does that in a way that recipes on the internet
Should you
can't
start them
quite
all
do.
off with my books? Is that and then-
Absolutely. I say
Yeah.
start here. Well, actually, Sola El Whaley says start here. Oh, look at how I
Okay,
did
let's
that.
do that.
So, and this is actually a perfect book for someone in that situation, or even for someone who, is just looking for a lot of new culinary ideas. So, Sola is, you may know her from a Netflix show that she's on with Dan Levy, where they judge people on their brunch dishes. But she is a professional cook and longtime food journalist who has written the book that she wishes someone had handed her when she first started cooking.
Mhm.
So she sort of feels like she took all the great things she's learned from culinary school and all the years she spent cooking professionally and put them in this book. So it's organized by technique, but then it also
Oh.
has an index of recipes right at the front. So you can go straight to a dish that you want to cook, or you can sort of learn as you go.
Mhm.
And it's a really excellent, books now are just photographed so beautifully, but it's
Right.
got a lot of great step-by-step photos. It's got flow charts for, sort of thinking about flavor, thinking about, sort of as you're tasting a dish, like the kinds of things you should think about.
That's
So
great.
it's really great.
A
That's
modern
great.
day La Technique.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jacques
Absolutely.
Pepin's classic.
Absolutely. And and it also, I think, reflects the flavors of the way that sort of American people eat now, where we, there's
It's
a little
Asian.
there's
and
all kinds
Fusion.
of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
All right.
so it's great.
So that was Sola
Sola El Whaley.
El Whaley.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And she will actually be in Seattle very soon in the new year. So
All right.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
And she'll be at your shop, I'm sure.
She will be actually Seattle Arts and Lectures, but
Okay.
keep your eye out for that. The next one I have is another great fundamental book. This is Nancy Silverton's The Cookie That Changed My Life.
Mhm.
She is, of course, the founder of La Brea Bakery and so many other great restaurants.
I
in the
think
Los
an American
Angeles.
classic. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think there are a few bakers that I would put above her or even in her tier.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is sort of the book that almost I think fans of hers have been waiting for, in that it's a retrospective of classic American baking recipes that Nancy has put through their paces and sort of made what she believes is the best version of it.
Mhm.
So it started with a peanut butter cookie that sort of a friend of hers had baked, and Nancy sort of ate it at the beginning of the pandemic and thought, this is perfect, but how could we make it even better? And it sort of inspired the whole book. So you'll
Oh.
find banana bread, you'll find apple crisp, you'll find peanut butter cookies and things like that. But then you'll also find things like Portuguese tarts.
Right.
And there's like a Danish sort of sesame cookie. So things that are sort of newer to an American palate, but that are bound
And
to
she
be
has-
classics in the future.
She's got an incredible eye,
She really
but
does.
I wouldn't put her in that. She's not like a foo-foo baker. She is, her depth of
She's a
flavor, her
cook.
texture. She's a real
Yeah.
baker.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that one, again, like great for a new baker, but also for an experienced one
Yeah.
who just wants to
Yeah,
learn.
that one looks great.
Yeah, really good. And then Nick Sharma this is his third book. He is the creator of the Brown Table blog. And so this book is called Veg Table. And so it's vegetable focused. Nick has a science background. And so these are simple recipes, but that also take a sort of scientific view of cooking and sort of what will make it work. Go ahead.
So when you say brown table, is he Indian or?
He is.
Oh,
yes.
okay, so
yeah.
Ah.
is this have an Indian bent to the recipes then?
Some of them do, but not necessarily. He's lived in the US for a long time and he likes to sort of bring Indian flavors and techniques into his recipes, but they're very rooted in, sort of, so again, sort of the way that we eat now, right? In
Yeah.
America. And
This
so
classical technique.
definitely classical technique, but also, like I said, very interesting flavors, organized by ingredient. So if you have a particular vegetable you're not sure what to do with, you can just go to that chapter and get ideas.
Ah. I
So,
saw
yeah.
at the front cover there, the periodic table just inside the cover. The
Yeah,
periodic table of
of
vegetables.
vegetables,
That's
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
clever.
I love
Nick
that.
manages to put a scientific spin on pretty much every bit of the book. So yeah,
Is that
Okay.
his first book?
this
Third.
is his third book.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you said.
And then I have B. Wilson, a book, again, sort of another one that came out of the pandemic called The Secret of Cooking. She is a food writer who has written some really great, sort of deeply researched books that don't necessarily have recipes in them. And this is her first cookbook, but she very much brings that approach of sort of deeply researching things and looking at, sort of all the different ways something can be done.
The Kenji Lopez alt effect is what I call it.
Yeah, I don't know. B was doing this before Kenji was,
yeah?
I think.
Well, he somehow popularized it. It's just amazing the following he has.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What are some standout dishes for B's book that
I would
caught
say,
you?
So I would say that one of the things that stands out is just the technique that's applied. So she has an entire chapter on carrots, but uses the carrot as like a way to teach you all different kinds of knife cuts and different ways of cooking the carrot as well. So it's like you can steam it, you can boil it, you can roast it, and so you have sort of all of these different methods. Again, with really great essays in between. So if you like to read your books cover to cover, this is an excellent one for that.
Fun.
Then I have Diana Henry, Roast Figs and Sugar Snow. This is a 20th anniversary update. This is a book for cold weather, and we're there right now. And if you like to just like dig in, make hearty stews, make foods that you'll find in sort of northern climates, this is an amazing book. Again, beautifully written, beautifully photographed. She's got, lots of pictures. Since the 20-year-old book, there are lots of pictures of like her son, who's now like a doctor out in the world, sort of in this book. And so, but he makes some of these recipes now.
Right.
So it's another one that, again, is just a beautiful gift. It's got a beautiful updated cover. And some people really resist the cold. I'm like, lean in, just go with it. And this will give you lots of new great ideas of how to make.
Just looking at the cover, it looks
delicious.
a bit Scandinavian in a funny way, but is it? Is she?
She is not. She's British, but there are definitely Scandinavian recipes here because she traveled a lot creating the book 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So she went to Scandinavia. She went to, sort of the northern parts of the UK, just to kind of understand how people who live in cold climates most of the year basically cook and what they like.
That's Diana
to eat.
Henry.
That's Diana Henry.
I'm surprised I don't recognize her name. If that's a 20-year-old book,
Right.
I know.
I don't recognize it.
She's a British author. She's the food columnist for the Daily Telegraph, has been for, sort of 20 years.
Okay.
And so, yeah. This book actually came out in the spring. This is A Splash of Soy by Lara Lee. I brought it because it is one of my absolute favorite books of the year. I cook from it all the time.
Wow.
If you have an Asian pantry, you should have this book because it will give you all kinds of easy ideas how to use your ingredients in the simplest, most delicious ways.
That's great.
I love it. My son took a copy of it to college. He's been cooking from it, and he's a brand new cook.
Right.
So again, it's like a variety of skill levels, but absolutely delicious. And I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
love it.
I love
That's
it.
good. You get
Okay.
a lot of books in.
And then we also had 2 re-releases this year of absolute classics. Julia Child's The French Chef Cookbook, but also Mater Jaffrey's An Invitation to Indian Cooking. And so those are just, if you're looking to sort of build your classic library, you can get beautiful new editions of both of those books that, again, anybody would love.
When they do a release like they are doing that, are they updating anything? Are they literally word for word? Do they put new photographs in? What are they?
So it's different in both cases. So the French Chef is a straight update, or is a straight re-release. And the Mater Jaffrey has a new introduction from Yotam Ottolenghi, sort of putting it in context of the way that people use it now, and has new sort of illustrations.
And what are the legs on these books? I know I wrote the new forward, I want to say, or something for the Victor. No, it wasn't Victor. It was the guy who does all this. Vincent Price's re-release of that, and it just didn't sell that I know of. It never got legs. Do these re-releases have legs?
They often do, and I think especially the Mater Jaffrey with the sort of the Yotam introduction. There's also, from a literary perspective, Heartburn just got a beautiful new.
Oh, did it?
In the UK, a beautiful new cover and an intro from Stanley Tucci, and so we've been selling a lot of copies of that. And so I think it's the books that sort of resonate with people, and that again, like you're sort of looking to build that classic collection. They're really a great way to sort of reintroduce one of your favorites, maybe a younger person in your life.
And the other way to do that is to go online. I mean, not that I don't want people to go to your store. I'm not saying that, but sometimes you go online, you can find these books with somebody's notes from 50,
Totally.
30,
Right.
40, 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
And I love that energy in a book.
Absolutely.
So are you still selling any used books?
Actually, we're not now. We'll always reconsider it. It's
Yeah.
kind of something that, we stopped in the pandemic.
All right. Speaking of books, Fuchsia Dunlap joined us last week, and we have her on Zoom, right? Isn't that how we
Yes,
had
that's
Fuchsia
how we did
on
it.
Zoom for our next segment? Thank you, Laura. Go visit.
That's awesome.
Go visit the Book Larder in Fremont. It's one of the Seattle treasures that we have in retail left.
We're
Go support it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
When we come back, it's Fuchsia Dunlap on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
perfect.
All right.
Super fun.
They're fun. What do you think? Got a cookbook problem? What's another one, right? I know. I just figured.
How do you think Laura keeps her hair so perfectly carrot colored? You have to go there so she can spend some money so she can get your hair perfect. It's Christmas. Say, what were you thinking, Bridget? Are you busy? Look at you. You're a busy woman.
Smells weird.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
How was breakfast?
Delicious. Thank you.
What was your favorite part? The sausage, the chard. Pretty good sausage too. Yeah. My favorite bite, this little edge of the tortilla. That's about the only part I like of that pizza is that edge. Yeah. It opened on Wednesday. This last Wednesday, yeah. It's full now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of this and that. Yeah, it's a lot of small plates, good glasses of wine, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Sean, here we go. And we're back. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. We had a chance to sit down with Fuchsia Dunlap last week and talk to her
Great.
on Zoom. I think she was in LA at the time, but man, she is very British, that woman.
Right.
And she has a new book out called Invitation to a Banquet. And if you remember, we did a long series with Grace Lynn in her new book called Chinese Menu. This is similar in nature, but it's much more serious. And it's Grace's
different.
was kind of approaching young children or teens. This one is more serious.
In depth. Yeah.
So let's listen in and to our broadcast of Fuchsia Dunlap's Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food. Welcome into the Hot Stove Kitchen on Cairo Radio. It's Tom Douglas and Loretta Douglas and Bridget Charters and our producer Becky sitting here. We've invited Fuchsia Dunlap on to talk about her new book called an invitation. Well, it's not called an invitation. It's called Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food. She's a former author. Shouldn't say it that way. Sean, could you fix that for me? She's also the author of The Food of Sichuan and many books about the foods of China. The one that I remember is the shark fin soup book. Fuchsia, the last time I read a book, I think, was that book all the way through, because it was just fascinating to read about the culture of China through your eyes.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a long time ago when I was on your show to discuss that book.
Exactly. So tell us about you. Becky is fascinated with that. Well, I'm fascinated with that. You can read, write, and speak Chinese, which is a worldly feat in itself.
Absolutely. What started that passion for China?
Wow. So when I was in my early 20s, I had a job where I was sub-editing a lot of stuff about the Asia Pacific region. And I just got slightly interested in China. And in 1992, I went on a backpacking holiday there. And something just caught my interest. And when I came home, I started an evening class in Mandarin Chinese. And then a bit later, I managed to get a British Council scholarship to study in China for a year. And I chose Sichuan, the Sichuanese capital, Chengdu, largely because I knew it was a famous center of gastronomy, and I'd had some very delicious food there the year before. So I arrived in Sichuan, and I quickly got distracted from my supposed studies and started learning in the kitchens of local restaurants and from friends. And I ended up being the first Westerner to train as a chef at the Sichuan Institute of Higher Cuisine. And I just did this chef's training course with about 50 young.
Oh, we lost her.
Chinese cuisine, the knife skill, flavoring. Yeah. And that was just the beginning, really. And for the last 30 years, I've been traveling around China and talking to people about food and spending time in kitchens and mainly eating a lot, and trying to learn about Chinese food that way.
What's the biggest difference between just visiting China and then kind of studying in the kitchens? It seems like there's a cultural divide there that, as a Western chef myself, we don't really quite get it. Because when I read your last book, or a book a while ago, the intensity of the need to have it perfect was just incredible.
Well, I mean, I suppose that if you want to go and work in a Chinese kitchen and study, you really need to have the language, because there are so many specialized culinary terms in Chinese that don't have English equivalents, and culinary concepts that we don't have equivalents for in the West. And so for me, it was really essential to start to learn the language of the kitchen so that I could talk to chefs about what they were doing and not just watch them, but understand why they were doing things and what they were thinking about. And so I have a very, very unusual Chinese vocabulary for any foreigner who's learning the language, because it's so lots of specialist cooking terms that normal Chinese people don't even know.
And what was your aha moment when like, if you're frying shrimp, we'll say, in a little light batter, what's your aha moment when they say, now it's perfect? What did they do that got them to that spot?
Well, it's what they call ho ho, which means the command of heat and timing. And that's the fundamental skill of the Chinese chef. And it's about developing a kind of instinct for making very quick judgments about exactly when something is right. And you might want those shrimps to be all slippery and delicate, or you might want them to be crisp and fragrant. And that's all about the temperature of the oil and how hot the fire is, and how long you cook them. And it's something that it's quite difficult to sum up in words and exact timings, because it's just all about using your nose and eyes and having a sense of when something is perfectly cooked.
The New York Times, when it reviewed your book, A History of Chinese Food and Sensory Feast, they said, a serious and intrepid work of culinary history as a cultural, and intellectual, and political investigation. And that kind of wraps up for my mind when I read your writing, how intense you are and how explicit you are in the ideas behind the food themselves.
Yeah, well, I think that I've always wanted to see Chinese food in the context of Chinese culture, and it's led me into I think it's a really food-centered culture, and it has been since the beginnings of Chinese civilization. People really express themselves through food. And so I have wanted to try and understand Chinese food, not just as a casual Westerner with my, Western point of view, but to get out of my own point of view and understand how food is seen and cooked and prepared in China. And so, yes, that has required listening a lot and learning the language, because I want my work to be satisfying not just to people outside the culture, but I want people in China to read the recipes and read the book and to feel that it rings true. That's my ambition. And so I have to do it quite seriously.
Barbara Trop, an old pal of mine who used to have China Moon restaurant in San Francisco, once told me I had her at one of my restaurants and I was doing, I don't know, some sort of stir fry or something that had a Chinese overtone to it. She said, she looked at me and she said in her usual feisty way, have you been to China? And I said, well, no, I haven't. And she says, well, why the hell are you trying to cook Chinese food? And so do you agree that really, if you want to be authentic in trying to recreate Chinese food at home, that it's essential that you visit Asia?
Well, I mean, there are plenty of Chinese people cooking really authentic Chinese food in America and other places. So I would say that if you really want to understand it, you need to understand it through China, but that could also be through, Chinese chefs in the West. And also, I think you have to, you have to decide if what you're aiming for is authenticity or not. You can be authentic. You can also be creative. But I think it's really useful and worthwhile to try and understand the origins of things and how they're done in their place of origin and why. And then to use that as a sort of, stepping stone for doing whatever you want with it.
And I totally agree. And most likely for the rest of my life, I'm getting old. But I'm going to have to live that experience through your books because you're so detailed. You feel like you can.
Well, I try to be detailed, yes. And I want to just put as much as I can into writing to help help readers to understand the fundamentals of Chinese food.
So we're talking with Fuchsia Dunlop. She's got a new book out called Invitation to a Banquet. The listeners of our show might remember Grace Lin, who had Chinese Menu. We did a series with her book a few weeks ago, ended a few weeks ago. That book was for teens. I would say this book is really for scholars is the wrong word, but for serious cooks.
Well, I hope so, but I hope it's also interesting to people who are not necessarily cooks themselves, because I think that Chinese food is Chinese culture, and it's a way to understand China more broadly. And I hope. Have had fun writing it, and I've tried to make the book a sensory experience, not just an intellectual one, so that you can really taste the food and have a bit of fun with some of the culinary concepts.
Before we dive into the book, where should people start? I mean, you seem to be in love with Sichuan and the nature of that cuisine. Is there, would you suggest going to Hong Kong first, or is there a place where you can kind of dive in gently into Chinese culture and food?
Well, I think Sichuan, Chengdu, where I used to live, is a great place to start because it's a very friendly and somehow very enticing city. Everyone I know, every foreigner I know who's been there or traveled there has fallen in love with it. And the food is, some of it is so very accessible and appealing to everyone, like dan dan noodles or zhong dumplings, which are sort of pork dumplings with a delicious sort of sweet soy sauce and chili oil dressing. And then if you want to be more adventurous, well, it's all there. You can have Sichuan hot pot with all kinds of interesting slithery ingredients, which will challenge your ideas about the texture of food. So Sichuan is great. But I mean, Hong Kong, as you mentioned, is a fantastic food city as well, and a place that I love. And all the dim sum, and you can have everything in Hong Kong, from very casual and inexpensive dumplings in little holes in the wall to some of the world's best banquet cooking.
Yeah, and I found it to be kind of a soft landing for myself, who was very nervous about language skills and very nervous about expectations, because I had always, I love dim sum, and Hong Kong is the home of dim sum. And I just thought it was a great place for me to kind of get my foot wet. I've never been back to mainland China, though, since, and I fully expected to.
Yeah. Well, I think Hong Kong also, because I think without the language, it's quite easy to get around. You're right. So it's a sort of it's a good jumping off point to the mainland.
Chinese hot pot and xiaolongbao, and they're kind of taking over our country. Spicy chili crisp, certain hoisin sauces. What's the next big explosion that we haven't discovered yet out of China that we're going to see on American restaurant menus?
Oh, well, I mean, it's hard to be exact, but what I would say is that there is so much there to discover. If you're interested in fermentation, there's an incredible culture of pickling and preserving. If you're interested in noodles and pasta, for example, Shanxi province in the north, they have just countless ways of making noodles out of wheat and also other grains like oats. So there's so much in China that people in the West would be delighted to experience. And we just have to hope that more Chinese restaurateurs start bringing their food our way.
No kidding. I love certain things. We're blessed here in Seattle to have a old Chinese culture and old Chinatown itself, with our own noodle factories and own fortune. I know fortune cookies are American, but it's just a real sense of beginning of Chinese food here from way back to building the railroads, when many Chinese came over to help build the railroads. So it's been fun for me to explore over the years. I can't wait for the big Chinese fresh rice noodles to kind of take over. It's my favorite texture, the chung fun, just crispy edges and lots of dressings on top. Yeah.
Yunnan province, they have so many different ways with rice noodles, which are utterly delicious and almost completely unknown in the West.
And the other thing I really like about dim sum are when they add fragrance to a dish, like the lotus leaf on a norma gai, or the dried shrimp in a lobako, or things like that, where you add a fragrance that adds an unknown, like where does that come from? That umami kind of nature.
Oh, well, I mean, I think that, in Chinese cuisine, you're always thinking about creating a full gastronomic experience. So if you have something that's very lightly flavored, then you want to add something strong to give it that savory taste that it lacks. So that's why dried shrimps are often used when cooking very mild ingredients like winter melon, for example, or, some, like you said, the lobao, the radish cake, which is quite a pale tasting vegetable. So you have these nuggets of fried shrimp and cured pork, which just make the whole thing completely delicious.
And for me, it has to be browned. It has to be hot when it gets to the table. So often dim sum comes a little bit cool, and I know that's probably fine and maybe not unexpected in China, but I like it when it's hot.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can get, the dim sum made to order, and in South China, and you can go to restaurants that specialize in just one kind, like the chung fun, the slithery rice sheets. Mm-hmm. And there are little snack cafes in Guangzhou, the Cantonese South, where that's all they do, and they're literally scooping them off and presenting, and they're so delicious.
Yeah, I found that in Tokyo too. Just these specialized little 8-seat restaurants that were just awesome. All right, we've been talking with Fuchsia Dunlop. Her book is called Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food. Next week, we're going to dive all the way into this book and find out more of the culture and the history behind some of the dishes in the book. And We'll be right back here on the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Well, that was the extended version. That one never got edited.
It'll be edited in the podcast though.
The first 14-minute segment on our show. Yeah, I'm not. So you'll have to tell Sean that he has to make something out of that, right? Okay. Okay, Bridget, this is all you coming up.
Cocktails.
No.
Compound butters.
butter.
Oh,
And we're back in
No
the kitchen here on the Hot Stove Society. Welcome to hour number 2. We thank you for listening. Go to a podcast. If you want to hear our tributes to Chef Terry, go back to, do you remember the dates on those shows? I don't remember. They were like 4 weeks ago. I want to say 3-4 weeks ago. And
3.
so you can go back
3.
and listen to our tributes to Chef Terry and the awesome dude that he was and is, and in our minds and our hearts. Brigitte is here.
Yes,
You're
oui.
sitting in Terry's chair, so you have to speak French.
un petit peu.
Oh, yeah. What about Italian?
Abbastanza più.
Okay, good. What she said. We are going to jump into compound butters.
I love compound butter.
Do you? Why?
They're nice because you can add ingredients to them, and at the last minute dot a steak that you've seared or dot a chicken breast that you've grilled, and just toss a little compound butter, and boom, you've got this flavor explosion.
Can we first talk about what compound butter is? And I think of it as a butter that you take and you
This
can.
is why you're the producer.
Right.
Right.
I was
Well, on a
inspired-
basic level,
Yes.
honey and butter whipped together is a compound butter.
right? Or sun-dried tomatoes or anchovies or I was just reading an article in Food and Wine and they were so pretty. They were in those logs.
they're
It was
gorgeous.
a sun-dried tomato and you the way you store it and then you just take out what you want. And then I was just getting excited about all the different kind of compound butters we've done.
Mhm.
And I've made a pesto one before and served it with friends and then they wanted it and I just pulled some out of my freezer and sent them home with it. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of
It's a
myself.
perfect
but
little Christmas
It's
present.
a perfect.
They
Christmas
make great
present.
little, you
Yeah.
can make them square. You can make them like a cube of butter. You can do beautiful rolls and wrap them in craft paper. It's
I was
nice.
going to ask, do you use them in the restaurants, Tom?
Well, we do use them in the restaurants, but we don't use them in the way you might think. It's not something we put in the freezer.
Okay.
It makes me twisted when I go to a restaurant and I get a compound butter on my steak that isn't melted. You know, it's like
Just
it
a lump
came
of
out
butter.
it's just a lump of butter. And so I was going to ask Brigitte about this because it is, I would say that's probably not untypical. And it's probably not even wrong. If I was to ask Chef Terry, is that how they serve that in France? He would probably say, yeah, way, or yeah, maybe not frozen, but certainly not necessarily melted on top. So for me, compound butter is exactly what you said. It's a little mixture of ingredients emulsified into a butter. It's in your KitchenAid or somehow that you feel like you want some piece of equipment. Your Robocook can do it too, although it does tend to get stuck to the sides and it's hard to make the mix. You can do it in a mortar and pestle.
Or a whisk?
Right.
Whisk is hard.
It's
If
hard.
it's
It's
less
hard, it
softened
gets-
butter.
Yeah, stuck up inside.
But
That makes
the
sense.
thing for me is people tend to make too much. If you make a pound of something, a pound of compound butter, it's going to be in your freezer for months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like unless you're having a dinner party, it's not likely you're going to use that in 2 or 3 weeks. And then it starts to taste like the freezer. And
Right.
that makes me twisted also.
Mhm.
Turns out many things make me twisted. But if I'm making a beautiful steak on the grill and I want to use a compound butter, I'll put shallot. I'll just do what they call the classic maitre d' butter, right? Which is shallots, thyme, salt, pepper,
Lemon juice.
lemon juice or lemon zest, and that's it. And that's
Right.
called the hotel butter or the maitre d' butter.
And they just keep basting that over the steak, or you just
Not basting.
No,
it so
it's a
much.
piece.
You put a piece, but I use
Oh,
then a torch, and I either use the broiler or I use a torch to melt it so that it drips through the steak.
Oh.
The problem is if you got to be careful if it's a rare steak, right? Your torch is going to cook the meat too. You got to
right.
so just keep it at room temperature, and it tends to do the steak will do the work.
Right.
But if you're making a steak for compound butter, and let's say you like it rare, well, what's the temp of a rare steak? 105 degrees. It's not going to melt your butter. You've got to figure out a way to get the butter melted into that steak, right? So,
Right. So to back up a little bit, the compound butters are under the classification in French cooking of appareil, which is those ingredients which are a thing: tomatoes, mushrooms, butter, but then things are added, they're converted slightly. They're still a butter, but they're different. So tomato concassé is one, mushroom duxelle is another. It's a term, it becomes a term. So maitre d'hotel butter can be anything. And so with that, it could be sweet, it could be savory. And so I like the idea of a steak, but channeling Terry, I know that classic maitre d'hotel butter is what's used on escargot.
Uh-huh.
When you
That
make
garlicky,
escargot,
really?
those trays, yeah. When you set up the prep for escargot, you get those little snails and they go in the dishes, and you take a medallion of maitre d'hotel butter, a persilade butter, and that goes on top.
and so what we often recognize as the garlic butter that's on escargot is
That's
not.
maitre d'hotel butter.
Ooh,
Interesting.
That's intense.
Yeah.
I've never had it that intense before because that's super garlicky.
Yeah, I mean, when you say maitre d'hotel butter, it refers to the maitre d' of the restaurant, and oftentimes what they would do was they would have all these lovely little things that they would bring out to the table to embellish their service. And so that's how it got its name, is that maitre d'hotel butter. And so restaurants use it because it's convenient. Tom, you just made it the other day for your turkey.
Well, you made it for my turkey.
I did.
The little smoked paprika butter that I put under the skin.
That's a
Yeah.
maitre d'hotel butter.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
what
it's
if you want to go sweet, like something on your scones, or like a honey cranberry butter,
delicious? Yeah.
or maple
Anything.
pecan?
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
So
Yeah.
I thought there was a classic recipe for the maitre d'hotel butter, but you're saying every house has their own flavor profile.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's when you say that, that's what the French call it, maitre d'hotel butter,
Mhm.
that compound butter.
Beurre composé. Oui.
Well, I mean, it does make a beautiful Christmas present, and
Yeah.
I'm all about. I mean, Terry was the best at this, of making things to give for their Christmas
Mhm.
presents, because what shows your heart more
Your
than
time.
your time
yeah.
and things from your garden and
And
yeah,
how
and
I-
it's a great way right now to use up all the herbs that are in your garden. Like,
Yes.
get those
too late.
now.
They're all
Too
dead.
late.
No, they're not.
I have
Mine are
a few
still going.
chives. That's it. But I have put it in small mason jars
Mhm.
and then put that in the freezer, so it's all the way to the top. And so, and then you're
Oh.
just giving someone a realistic amount of compound butter that
Mhm.
they could just put on their fridge or put it on the counter and not be a pound, but maybe it's not even a stick. Probably it is a stick of butter.
Yeah.
It's a cup.
Quarter pound is a good size.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And put a little lavender blossom in there,
Ooh.
or
Little garniture.
nasturtium flowers. Are your nasturtiums still blooming?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
End of November.
Well, I put them against this wall. I was a little late, and I got a few blossoms, and they're still growing.
Fun.
Next up, Loretta is going to lead us on a shortcut or scratch journey, and we're going to enjoy that because she's my daughter. Why wouldn't we?
She's awesome.
On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
And I didn't put in there.
In a row.
I don't know if you want to know if it's more fun to be surprised.
I don't know. I want
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
I got it.
Got it.
Is she here yet?
And the next one is at 10:30. I could call them and see if they could.
10:15, yeah. Good half hour.
But I like the flow of Loretta, then right back on with you for trivia instead of.
She nearby?
Do you want me to text her, or would it be better coming from you? Oh, can't find. She said can't find parking. Be in shortly. And that was at 10:11. So she should be in here shortly. Let me know if there's any problems with that phone, and I've got her. Did I get her back to the next one?
I've got the meeting open.
I can tell you who to go. And this is rare.
You can send me the edited version of. Yeah. You don't have to wait for it. You know how to do it. You don't have to wait for it. Yeah. Usually I cut out all the, and then he might trim it down more, but I'll give him nice. And you get a chance to fix it. Yeah. All right, she's here.
You're good, darling. Too many people picking up their freaking pies.
How's your mom?
Good. A long night.
Was it? Yeah.
Been a long night or short? Yeah.
She went over to help babysit last night.
Okay, so have nothing to show. Talking about dinner rolls. Buy them or make them. And I talk about my heinous ones that I made the other week. Are you ready? They ran down 27 flights of stairs at the parking garage.
All right, here we are back in the Hot Stove Kitchen on Cairo Radio. It's coming to you live from the Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle. We have a lively group here today. Just had breakfast,
Oh,
so
big crowd.
they're buzzing.
Woohoo!
They're buzzing. And I will tell you, normally our guests get a little taste of something that we're talking about, but Loretta didn't bring her dinner rolls today.
Oh, don't throw her under the bus.
You guys
Too
should be
late.
thankful.
Too
I
late.
didn't bring my dinner rolls.
We call this segment
Shortcut or scratch.
Shortcut or Scratch. And so tell us who you are and why you're here, and let's jump into this.
All right. I'm Loretta Douglas, of some relation to Tom. And I am a home cook. I am a mom of 3 little kids. And so I love to find some shortcuts in my daily cooking. And with the holidays around us and things like that, I was thinking about dinner rolls. And the other night I actually I was cooking dinner with my mom at my house, and she was making like something beautiful, and I was about to pop a can of Pillsbury crescent rolls.
Wow.
That's
to
what I
have-
was thinking about.
You know, toddlers, man, plus me, I love them. But I was like, she's making like these beautiful pork chops, all this stuff. I should class it up a little bit. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to throw together some from scratch dinner rolls.
Nice.
And I, much to my father's horror, just went on the internet, found the first recipe that I could, and I put together dinner rolls, and they were heinous.
Heinous?
Heinous. They were
Ah.
awful.
You should have gone with
I
Pillsbury.
should have gone with the crescent rolls, like by a mile.
What went wrong?
I don't know,
That's
but
the best part. She
everything.
doesn't know. Yeah.
I
Blocked it out,
felt
maybe.
like I followed the recipe exactly, but something was not correct. I
Any-
hope that that's not what they were supposed to taste like, because if so, ugh.
Anybody can write a recipe and put it on the internet.
I mean, this one had like thousands of positive reviews, so I felt like I was in good hands. It was more than likely me, but it got me thinking about, like, in this case, the shortcut really would have been preferable. Maybe not everybody like Pillsbury crescent rolls, but I just wanted to chat about like what you think about some products in the grocery store. I know that and I know my dad buys the Macrina, and locally you can get the
Little cheesy
Macrina
rolls,
Bakery
yeah.
cheesy dinner rolls, and you pop them in the oven and they come out and they're fantastic. But when I was thinking about it, like I couldn't think of that many other shortcuts in that
It's-
outside of like King's.
King's is Hawaiian though.
yeah,
rolls?
but like
They're half sugar.
But-
That's the problem.
Yeah.
with those. Yeah.
But what about a biscuit? You know,
Well, that would be, she actually made yeasted rolls, and so a biscuit would have been even simpler.
yeah,
Shortcut.
sometimes
Quicker.
I've made like a cream drop biscuit kind of instead. But if you want that like fluffy, bready roll texture, I don't know. I just
what about a
rolls feel like a lot of work, and maybe this is my calling. There's a gap in the roll market, but
what
I-
about a soda bread?
I don't
An
particularly
Irish
love
soda bread.
personally. It's like a scone. They're always, for me, it's a little bit always too dry. I don't know if you feel that way about
It's like
soda
a
bread.
biscuit. I
Well,
mean, not all recipes.
I did see Melissa Clark online she took pizza dough, and she turned that, she kept folding that and made
Oh,
a shortcut, and she called it a shortcut to making rolls.
oh,
And then she did a
like a
showstopper.
store-bought pizza crust
Yep.
roll, like dough.
Something you get at Trader Joe's or really
Yeah.
delicious stuff. Step it up.
Interesting.
Oh.
Okay, I would try that.
You
What
could-
about you? I mean,
You
you're not.
happen to own part of a pizzeria that has beautiful dough.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
That makes
Amazing.
lovely,
the best.
lovely focaccia and facchetti out of
I've
that
actually
roll.
never made focaccia before.
Oh, it's
That would
fun.
be a good,
It's a very simple
simple
thing.
alternative,
Yeah.
maybe.
Mhm.
What about? I mean, you're not a huge baker at home, I would say.
I'm
So,
huge, and I'm not a baker. So you have to clarify that.
but what would you do? Would you buy the Macrina ones in that
Well-
case? Like if you want rolls, or would you just pawn it off on mom?
You know, well, your mother makes beautiful rolls, and so yes, I would pawn it off on your mother. She's making sweet potato, or she made sweet potato rolls for Thanksgiving with her own homegrown sweet potatoes. That's the kind of person she is.
Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, it's a little bit sick.
It's annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. But for rolls, for me, I like those Macrina little cheesy rolls. They're like 5 or 6 to a little pack.
Yeah.
As you know, if you look in my freezer at home, it's full of different soups because whenever I have leftovers from dinner, I make a soup out of it, right? So, and for me, since your mother's at the farm half the week, it's a great go-to meal for me if I'm not eating.
You pull one of those packs of rolls out of the freezer,
Yeah.
and
And
a
I've pulled them
soup
out
and-
for Rory.
Yeah.
It's for your children. I almost called
Oh
him
my
Rory.
God, you used
I
his
heard
On
that.
company
real
property.
I
name.
heard it.
For Hercules and for Athena and for Adonis. They would love those little cheesy rolls, and he eats the whole package before he eats dinner. That's the problem.
Because they're so
Did the apple
Interesting.
not
So
fall too far from the tree?
let's go back
I
to
can
your
eat the whole
crescent
package
rolls.
of rolls. Okay.
My mother broke that can open a million times for her 8 children, and I don't know why you would be. I think you're embarrassed by the idea, but you love the roll. So how do we get rid of that? Because you could take that very same crescent roll. You still have to roll them, remember?
Yeah.
So just grate cheese into them.
So I
Or
do.
put
If
herbs into
I
them.
make them, I always doctor them up. Like if we're having chicken parm for dinner, I'll make garlic knots out of crescent roll dough.
Oh,
or
that's a good idea.
For breakfast, I will roll scrambled eggs, and cheese into them and make like
Little egg roll.
little egg pockets. Basically.
And then you bake them that way?
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Clever.
I've made like cinnamon sugar ones that come out tasting like little cinnamon rolls and things like that. So I'm a little bit embarrassed of them, but it's more, I love them, but they are a particular flavor, I would say.
and texture.
And texture, and they're trashy. And like
Yeah.
sometimes, and they're always trashy, in my opinion. Like no matter what you do with them, they always have that like fake buttery goodness.
And sometimes
happening.
you're in the mood for
And
that.
sometimes I'm in the mood for that. And sometimes when I, now they make those in little like half cans where it's only 4 rolls. And for us, like that's
That's
the
perfect.
perfect size. And so,
That wouldn't even be enough
snack.
for me. It's like-
but sometimes, when I'm doing a 15-minute dinner like that, hits the right spots. But there are times where I want to have
when you really want to step up your game and put a little cocktail weenie in there
yeah, exactly.
and make pigs in a blanket. Come on, you know you do.
I taught my child about pigs in a blanket with pancakes this morning, and he
Okay.
said it was his sausage taco.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay. No, but you want that different, a little bit more elevated kind of flavor profile, and I just didn't know. Maybe your best bet is the local bakery, or I know most grocery stores sell the little more like hard dinner rolls
Right.
in their bulk bake section or
Right.
something like that. But
You know,
I
it's
didn't
funny
know
you say
if-
that because I don't see that in most stores. When I want a hard roll, like a classic old-fashioned
Crunchy.
hard crunchy, I go to Larson's Bakery
Okay.
up at 80th and 24th, and they make the plain and the sesame version, and they are perfect.
Really?
They are
Okay.
perfect old-fashioned classic hard rolls.
Could you freeze those? Like,
I do
could I
all
get
the
them
time.
and keep them in the freezer
Yeah.
and then pop them out? Okay.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
just
that's
pop
what I
them
need to
out
try.
and put them in the
Yeah,
The
they
oven.
take they're light as a feather. They take 5 seconds to heat up.
Defrost. Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to heat them up at a temperature that gives them that crispy, that crispy crust,
Okay.
And then add a little compound butter.
and a little compound butter.
Mhm.
And I
that,
do
I
think,
received
as
from
a
my
roll,
friend Becky for Christmas.
a roll shortcut, rewarming them in the oven like that is, everybody should be doing that, right? You're going to use a prepackaged roll. You should still treat it well and bring it up to temperature and,
Yeah,
Good point.
things like that.
Why not, Sean? How's our time over there? We're good. All right, we're going to jump into a conversation with Carrie Jones and John McCarthy on Zoom and talk about their new book, 25 Classic Cocktails and their extensions. We're going to talk about their new book, Every Cocktail Has a Twist. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Perfect. That's the serious pie dough.
We should
Old.
have read about serious pie sheets.
And I have
You
I always
just-
have the book name right
that's-
there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. I went where.
Yeah.
So. Look how much I'm learning today. And then butter.
She never even said that. That would have been smart.
Look, it's on there.
A little spice rub.
So you can see.
Hi there.
Good job, darling.
So you made a note to fix that? That little.
Hey, Rich.
Turn the camera around so they can see our audience there. Say hi to our audience here today.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, this is Carrie Jones and John McCarthy.
Hi.
All right. This is the wine here. That's the storage. Huh? No, that was right here in the corner. I've got an extra one if you need one. This is the
Can-
wine list.
I can't hear them.
Sean, can you check sound for us?
Check, check.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
All right, there we
Perfect.
go. Thank
We
you.
got it.
Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show in Cairo. I'm joined by Chef Brigitte Charters,
Yes, Tom.
and I'm Tom Douglas.
Tomas.
Becky, our producer, is here, and we are inviting into our kitchen, into these lovely hot stove kitchens, Carrie Jones and John McCarthy, and their new book, Every Cocktail Has a Twist. And the kind of subtitle is Master 25 Classic Drinks and Craft More Than 200 Variations. And so, Becca, we were talking before the show about how many things in the cocktail culture of today, how many, like having 30 bottles of bitters in your bar these days or whatever it is. And I really like the concept behind this
Yes.
of understanding the real classics, a martini, a Manhattan, and then simple variations from there. So,
And they give them fun names too.
and they give them fun
they're
names.
very funny
Yes.
names.
So, welcome to our show, Carrie and John. We have you on Zoom right now. Our audience can see you. Hopefully, our YouTubers can see you. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Thanks so much for having us.
Tell us
Thanks
about
for
your book.
having
All right. So this book, Every Cocktail Has a Twist, as you said, is built around 25 classics. And those are classics in the most traditional sense, things like the martini and the Manhattan, but also just popular drinks that people get excited to make. So that includes things like eggnog, pretty topical for this time of year, sangria, Bloody Marys. And the book is very much written for the home bartender. We think that there is just a big difference between the quality of drinks most people are making at home and the quality they could be making, just with some good recipes, some good tips.
Fantastic. And I think you're absolutely right. I think people are just nervous to make these fancy cocktails at home.
I think that's exactly right. And bartending is not technically complicated necessarily. We draw a lot of comparisons to baking. You wouldn't try to bake cookies without the proper measuring gear, without an oven. You can set to an accurate temperature. It's not complicated, but you do need the parameters and the basics. So that's very much our approach to bartending as well.
Yeah. I was wondering because I noticed some of your drinks have different liqueurs, and just speaking personally, our liquor cabinet is crowded with so many different other alcohols. Any tips there?
Use it up.
I know, but could we substitute? I just am thinking of, because it's great. I love like the Collins section. I mean, could something as neutral as a Collins be used, and could people riff on what you guys have created?
Absolutely. One of the things we're hoping people will discover with the book is, because we show you these templates, is that you can start exploring yourself. We tried to leave some space on the page so you can write your own recipes as well. And whenever you're working with a liqueur, or fruit liqueur, subbing out different flavors is definitely the way to go. And when you find something that you like, experiment with it in other drinks and see what you find. Because at the end of the day, it's your home, it's your bar, it's your drink.
Can we talk about holiday gatherings? If I'm having a party, do I end up with like Bridget pulling out all kinds of bottles, or do you just focus on a couple cocktails, or what would you recommend?
Our approach is usually to focus on just one or two cocktails. If it's a big party, you're probably also serving wine, you're probably serving beer, you're probably serving a number of other things. But I think that one way to make your life as a host very complicated is to kind of set up a catering bar with one of everything. And then people don't know, do they want a gin and tonic? Do they want a martini? Do they want you personally to make them a martini? So we tend to go the route of having one or two cocktails pre-batched and ready to go. And we have quite a few in the book that are really suited to the holiday season.
We try to, as often as we can, when we have a cocktail, to be able to show you how to make 6 of them so that you can host a party.
That's such a key, because people don't think about cocktails in the same way as they think about mashed potatoes. When you're making mashed potatoes for 12, you don't make them one at a time,
Correct.
right? You make mashed
That would be
potatoes for
terrible.
12.
Yeah.
So cocktails are the same way, by pre-batching, but the key is measurement,
Yes.
right? If you're making a batch of Negroni for the group, you have to have the right measurements of each of the main ingredients in that Negroni. Speaking of Negronis, team, we opened a small Negroni bar last week at our Neb restaurant, and the variations are enormous, from the kind of gin that you use to the kind of bitter that you use as your or your vermouth that you use. You have a favorite? Give us some brand names that you love.
Oh boy. The Negroni is kind of the best example of a drink that's really a template and could go in, an infinite number of directions.
The category of Amari, of all the Amaros, I mean, every little town in Italy has their own that they created for themselves. So there's just infinite flavors that you can find.
So when we do Negroni variations, we often start out with keeping the gin and the sweet vermouth very classic. So using a London dry, such as Beefeater or Tanqueray, using a great Italian vermouth like Carpano Antica, and then changing up the bitter elements. So instead of Campari, using something like Amaro Montenegro, which is really bold with flavors of orange, or something similar to that.
So the Montenegro Amaro is actually
We
fairly
love
inexpensive
a
also.
I think we lost you for a second.
Oh,
Big
What-
gross.
I had a
We
question.
love a Venetian Amaro called Select, which
Yes.
is really fantastic.
And that's the one that you taught me that I should be putting the Maros in the fridge, and I haven't been. Is that correct?
Your vermouths.
Vermouths, yes.
Yes, and then anything wine-based, such as Lillet, that's when you really want to make sure that you refrigerate, because some of those lower ABV wine-based products can eventually go off. If you have them out on your counter for a week or so, a couple of weeks, even a month, they're probably fine. But if you open a bottle of Lillet and just leave it in your hot kitchen for a few months, you will notice a difference in taste.
oh, for sure, and color-wise too. All of
Exactly.
those things, when it's like when people buy these big things at Costco, they just don't last,
Right.
right? It's like as soon as you open a jar of soy sauce, it starts to oxidize and go bad. Same with your vermouth, same with your Lillet and your Antica vermouth. So buy them in the smallest container possible, use them up, pay a little bit more, it's not that much, and have a fresher mixer, I think.
Couldn't agree more.
I
Couldn't
loved
agree.
your chapter on, and it's so timely, on eggnog. And in particular, can you talk about aged eggnog? We had a conversation about that on our show last week, and we'd love to understand what aged eggnog is. And is it safe?
Well,
It's-
I know that some parties were a little skeptical about the notion of aged eggnog, which is understandable. you tend to want your eggs and cream to be as fresh as possible. And the key there is the alcohol. We would not recommend aging eggnog before you spike it. That's just going to get you some moldy dairy. But there have actually been experiments done where scientists have intentionally dosed alcoholic eggnog with salmonella and E. coli cultures, and they won't grow because the alcohol content's too high. So the alcohol, as in many other cases, really does act like a preservative. And we've served eggnog at our holiday parties that we made in July, and it's pretty fantastic. The flavors just really have time to integrate and mellow. And I think with most things that have to do with eggs, you'll know if it's bad. If it smells bad, it probably is. Get rid of it. It's fine. But, you know.
Our audience is acting very skeptical.
With eggs.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They're shaking their heads.
Yeah. That tends to be, does that happen in the Scandinavian countries? I think of the aged eggnogs and things of that nature.
I think there's a lot of tradition behind it, and similar things. And, you know, there's some recipes kind of in folk tradition. Some of them work, some of them don't. But we think eggnog is a great thing to experiment with. And, you know, if you start.
I loved your Run Run Rudolph eggnog that's caffeinated, and for dessert, eggnog Foster. Those were kind of fun. So I'm wondering how you come up with your names. I think we're.
Sean, have we got them back? Well, we've lost our sound for a minute. Hold on.
There they are. There they are. They're back.
Great.
We're back. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
No.
Go ahead and ask your question again. What about the Rudolph?
Well, how do you come up with your names? I loved the Run Run Rudolph, which is a caffeinated eggnog, and your for dessert eggnog Foster. So how do you come up with these creative names?
We have a lot of fun with them. I mean, we think that, you know, drinking should be fun and eggnog should be fun. Having an eggnog should be fun. The Run Run Rudolph is really the drink we envisioned Santa wanting after, you know, dragging all those presents around. He probably doesn't want a glass of milk. He probably wants a little caffeine and a little whiskey. So that drink is sort of an Irish coffee take on an eggnog. So you've got coffee liqueur, you've got whiskey on that traditional eggnog base. And we just love that one. And Eggnog Foster picks up a lot of the flavors of a banana Foster dessert. And that one, that's like dessert in a glass. That's an amazing drink.
Right.
We're talking with Carrie Jones and John McCarthy. Every Cocktail Has a Twist is the name of the book. 25 classic drinks and crafts crafted in 200 different ways.
So I had a question, and that is, Bridget, I'm not an eggnog person, but you know, I'll have it there. Your recipes are super fun, and I definitely have it there for the guests. But what about like a mulled wine? Because the house smells amazing with some kind of a mulled mixture on the stove. And then could you have liquor there that folks could then add to your mulled mixture? You guys have?
Absolutely. And you're right. When you have mulled wine on the stove, it just makes the whole house smell great. We always do it when I'm behind the bar because it makes the bar smell great and people want to order it. And yeah, it's we always just offer, what would you like with it? You know, rum is great, bourbon is great.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Brandy,
cognac.
Do you add Amaro to something like that? Would you add?
Oh
like
yeah,
you mentioned
that's a
the
great idea,
Montenegro.
actually.
Would that be good? Okay, cool, awesome. It's so delicious. Thank you.
All right, you too can be a master bartender in your very own home. Check out Every Cocktail Has a Twist. Carrie Jones and John McCarthy are the authors. 25 classic drinks that craft more than 200 variations easily.
Awesome.
On Cairo Radio.
Such a great book.
Up next is our Food for Thought Tasty Trivia at the Hot Stove Society on
There you go.
97.3 FM.
Carrie and John, thank you so much.
absolutely.
Thank
Thanks
you.
to you guys.
Super fun.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
I get a test. They were both talking, and it was valuable. Both talking fine, so that was essential.
Yeah.
So we did that with Albert.
With who?
Albert.
Yeah.
Oh, when
That
there's
was-
two, it
that was-
causes it to freeze.
we're still too hot. So I think
Okay, we're all Zoom. Okay, okay.
and for Zoom, our names decides which ones
Okay.
we're going to ask,
Okay.
so that we have a
Much
little
more structure.
more seamless.
Got it.
So then we have one more later today with Melanie and the mushrooms. So we'll try to scramble
Okay.
something together before that. So is
Are you going to play trivia with us? Ever since we moved, we're losing our sound. Yeah. So we have to figure this out. Can't continue. Yeah. Okay. All right. We can just run one and then, without doing all the rafter work, right? See if it works. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. The internet's been like,
Well,
when I hop-
the
when
same
I-
thing happened with Fuchsia last week.
Yeah.
About every 5 minutes, it would just die out on us. So something weird is going on. Yeah. Can't do that. All right, we're going to wrap this up with food for thought tasting trivia. Are you ready? Okay.
All right, here we are.
Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show. Time for Rub with Love Food for Thought Tasty Trivia, brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rubs, a delicious line of seasonings made right in Ballard at our warehouse. It is available at many local grocery stores like QFC, Thriftway, and specialty gift stores like J. Matheson, located in Green Lake Village. J. Matheson is celebrating their 1-year anniversary, and Carol, our rub manager, will be there next Saturday, December the 9th, at noon, sampling our Rub with Love products. Of course, we
Oh,
sample them all the time ourselves.
I walk by that little shop all the time. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's very sweet. So it's over there by U Village. No, by
By
Green Lake.
Green Lake.
PCC, it's right in
Yeah,
that little.
right in that. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I misspoke. Okay, Becky, tell us how to play the game and who's going to win our prize.
Okay, well, we've got the dream trio here with Loretta, Bridget, and Tom. And each of you get 5 questions, and the winner gets to pick the winner in the audience
Wonderful.
for a 3-pack of rub. Sound good?
Yep.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Let's start with Bridget.
Okay.
Can you please share what surströmming is? Surströmming. It's maybe a hint would be, why is it illegal to eat it in public?
Wow.
No idea.
No idea.
No
It's a-
idea.
I thought you would know this for sure. It's a Swedish delicacy. It's illegal to eat it because it's too smelly. It's a fermented Baltic sea herring. Is one of the world's stinkiest foods.
It's a Baltic Sea herring.
Herring.
Yeah, and I thought with your Scandinavian roots, you would have known it for sure. So
Wow.
this one's multiple
Well,
choice.
I have my roots are a sliver.
Okay.
I'm more like
shallow-
Tom,
shallow
Scottish,
roots.
Irish.
I have a little Swedish in me.
Yeah.
You're
my-
very sweet. Multiple choice.
Oh, Becky. That
I've
was
heard him say that
terrible.
before. He's used that line. How many teaspoons of sugar does one 12-ounce can of soda contain on average? 3, 6, or 10 teaspoons?
6.
It's actually 10.
10.
It's almost
Oh my
1 teaspoon
God.
per ounce.
On like soda, just
Yeah,
Like a Coke?
Yeah.
nasty.
Can you please describe what Zug is?
Zoog.
Zug.
Yeah, it's tough. I do know what it is, but
I don't really know how to describe it.
do you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's
I
Loretta,
think
will you
that's,
describe it?
Bridget's
like a-
throwing an offer right now.
Herby green sauce.
It is it's a condiment. It's bright, spicy cilantro sauce
That's
that
right.
originated in
That's
Yemen. It's likened to a Middle Eastern pesto, and now it's so popular.
We
you
made
can find
it
it.
for class.
I noticed that. Trader Joe's. Okay, number 4. Let's see if we can get this one.
Okay.
A Chinese gooseberry is more commonly known as what? Does anybody know? A kiwi fruit.
Kiwi fruit is
Yes.
a gooseberry. Oh.
Okay, this one you're gonna nail. This is
Okay,
you.
wow.
What do you mean? You're giving her a
I
run
wouldn't
because
be
she's
so sure.
0 for 4 so far?
That's right.
Loser.
Please describe the difference between the two iconic Louisiana dishes, gumbo and jambalaya.
Gumbo is a more of a soup, whereas jambalaya is a rice dish similar to a paella.
The tongue
Perfect.
twister.
Perfect. Well done. You got one.
Oh, I got
Wow.
one.
That's
Wow, this is a first.
Okay, Loretta, you feeling good?
No, not after that.
I know.
You'll get this one. Which vegetable is used to make the popular Middle Eastern dish baba ganoush?
Eggplant.
Nice. Well done. Multiple choice. How much caffeine needs to be taken out of coffee for it to be decaffeinated? 50, 95%, or at least 97%?
95.
It's actually 97.
97.
Just
97, yeah.
3%. What is the French seasoned stew made of eggplant, tomatoes, green peppers, squash, and sometimes meat? It's also the same name as an animated Disney movie.
Ratatouille.
You got it. Well done.
And rat is often the meat that they
Yeah,
use.
exactly.
Oh, cute young brat dreams of becoming a renowned French chef. What is the main ingredient in the popular Korean dish kimchi?
Cabbage.
You got it.
What kind of cabbage?
Uh-huh.
Napa. Good.
Cabbage.
I was gonna.
You weren't
gonna
gonna let her
get
have
away
it.
with that.
I love kimchi. So.
True or false? This is your final question. German chocolate cake originated in Texas, not Germany.
True.
It is true. It was named after the English-American chocolate maker Samuel German, who developed a formulation of dark baking chocolate that came to be used in the cake recipe in 1957.
Nice. Good job, Loretta.
All right, so
Thanks.
you were
Mine were
So, 4 for
markedly
4.
easier
4.
questions
4 for
than
5.
yours.
4 for 5. Okay, Tom.
All right.
Which vegetable is known as lady's fingers in some countries due to its slender shape?
In some countries.
It's a staple in gumbo.
Okra.
Yes.
Woo!
That was,
Love that.
That was a
hint.
good hint.
That was a really
Love
good
that
hint.
Tipped him off.
If someone suffers from mugheriocophobia, what are they afraid of?
Mushrooms.
Cooking.
Cooking.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have.
What is it?
Mugherocophobia, the fear of cooking. None of you have it, so you wouldn't
My mother
across
had that.
I have people that are afraid to eat what I cook.
have. Not true. Not true. What type of mushroom can you often find growing under trees in Washington during the fall?
So many.
But they're about $25 a pound.
Chanterelle.
Yes, you got it.
This young man right back there was
We take cheating.
tipped me off.
We take cheating. It works.
We accept cheating
We
here
accept cheating,
and bribes.
Number 4. What is the most popular non-alcoholic beverage consumed globally?
Globally,
Globally.
tea,
Coffee.
coffee.
It's believed to originate in Ethiopia. A national legend credits the goat herder Kaldi with discovering the potential of coffee beans. He observed how energetic his goats became after eating the berries from the coffee plant. So he brewed some up, and there we have it.
There it is.
There we have it.
Who knew?
Okay, for your final question, would you like a joke or a chefy question?
I want a chefy question.
Okay. What is the classic sauce that can be used in both sweet and savory applications made from egg yolks, sugar, and wine?
I want a joke. Zabayon.
You got it.
Yeah.
Sabayon. I'm
Yeah.
telling you the joke anyways, just for
All
fun.
right.
What do you get when you drop a pumpkin?
A musical group, the Smashing Pumpkins.
Squash.
Squash.
And
That
that's
was good. That was
it. So
good.
we've got Loretta, the winner, with 4
Yay!
out of
All right,
5.
we're gonna have to
Yay,
pick somebody,
Loretta!
pick somebody out of the audience to give your 3-pack of rub from our gift shop to. That would be awesome.
All right.
If you want to be part of our just slow down. If you would like to be part of our show, you can join the community on YouTube Live at Tom Douglas and Co. or buy a ticket at hotstovesociety.com. The show is produced by Becky Guzak. Sean McFadden is our technical wizard, and our talented editor at Cairo, thank God he's there. Sean, don't call me Del Torre. Also, remember, if you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show on Cairo, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite podcast app. Thank you for listening. Have a great holiday season.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
All right, just quiet on the set for a minute, please, team. A lot of reefer noise going on here.
Oh,
Reefer noise.
got it.
Oh my God.
I walked by a car this morning after I parked right down here on Fifth
Just
Avenue.
clouds.
It was like
coming
a
out.
cloud
Yeah.
coming out the windows of the car. Two dudes in there just like, whoa.
Behind a wheel. Awesome.
They were parked,
Oh, okay.
but they were definitely
Going to work.
Even they had to open their windows. You would think they would close the windows, but yeah. Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
And I'm Bridget Charters.
Today on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we talk with Pamela Hinckley of the Pike Place Market Senior Center and Food Bank. Laura Hamilton is here from the Book Larder in Fremont, and Fuchsia Dunlop, author of Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food. Welcome to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. My name is Chef Tom Douglas. I guess my name is really Tom Douglas, but Chef Tom Douglas
Chef
today.
is your first name. I'm
Yeah.
Loretta Douglas.
And we are welcoming you back to the Hot Stove Society show. We've been on here for quite a long time. We're finally getting, we're not, I don't think, Sean, can we start that again, please? Bye-bye, ladies. Thank you. Welcome to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. It's Chef Tom Douglas.
And I'm Loretta Douglas.
Loretta is sitting
Not
in
chef.
Loretta is sitting in the chair of our best buddy, Chef Terry, who passed away about a month ago now. And we are sad still around here. We hope that you continue to listen and to think about Chef Terry, R.I.P. You know, we did a couple of tribute shows to him right afterwards. So if you want to look those up and hear some of his final words, that would be fabulous. Becky can
3 shows ago.
yeah, Becky can get you the dates on that. And what else is going on? We have a large show for you today. It's the holiday season, and man, we are smack dab in the middle of it. So much going on. We're going to welcome Chef Gerald Gutierrez of Otium Restaurant up there. I want to say, if you're looking directly east here from the Hot Stove Society, about 5 or 8 blocks up the way on Virginia, off Virginia there, between Virginia and Denny, right? Terry and Thomas.
Close.
Michael Pickney is also known as the Cookie Monster, and he's here to talk about his delicious handcrafted gourmet cookies. Melanie Kahn is here to celebrate her book, Mason Goes Mushrooming. I've had this book in my bag. You know, it came around right when Terry got sick and into the hospital for his lung transplant and all the things that were going on. And it sat in my book, and it sat in my book bag.
So
and
you're fessing up. But
So,
we
yeah.
saw it. It's beautiful. But
it's a
you're-
very
yeah.
cute book.
Yeah.
Certainly. I am a little nervous about reading it to my grandson because
Why?
I don't want him going out and picking mushrooms. He's
Maybe-
too young.
Maybe Melanie can give you some tips on that.
Yeah, exactly. How do you tell him about that part of mushrooming? Loretta Douglas is going to talk about her segment called Shortcut or Scratch. What is it this week?
Calbee
This week is
steak.
Calbee steak.
Ah,
This is something I grew up on, so I'm curious your feelings about it.
yeah. Well, I have distinct feelings about it because to me they're very different dishes. The ones you buy in the store and the ones you make at home. Very different dishes. We get inspired discussing. Sean, can you fix this, please? We get inspired discussing festive holiday appetizers, and of course, it's part 2 of our conversation with Fuchsia. Are we going to drop that this week until we can?
Well, we could come up with another segment, or I think it's going to sound good.
All right. And part 2 of our conversation with Fuchsia Dunlop, getting into the details of her new book, Invitation to a Banquet. I'm sure you have some tasty questions for us to wrap up the show on our Food for Thought Tasty Trivia.
I do.
You do.
We're
Are
going to
you
see how you
I
did
beat you the
last
last
week.
couple of shows, so
Yeah,
we'll
Loretta's
see if
been
my
killing it.
streak
counting? Who's counting?
continues.
Nobody's counting. Nobody cares. It's time for our taste of the week, and I'm going to start off with a taste that we're going to have.
Okay.
I have purchased my taste of the week, and I'm going to let it ripen in my refrigerator for the next 3 weeks until we eat it for Christmas Eve dinner. And it is called Epoisse.
Mm.
And it's a French cow's milk cheese that's got a washed rind on it. And so as it sits, I mean, you can eat it right out of the box now, and you'll probably need a knife, and you spread it, and it's good, but it's
Yeah, but
not
you got-
great
yeah.
yet. You got to let it sit until it gets soupy and stinky, and what some people would just, they would never put it in their mouth if they smelled it when it was actually ripe. But it is so good.
So you buy it at the store before it's ripe, and you pre-plan this, or you just
Well,
special?
people,
I think
people
the
like it in
store
different
would-
ways.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the store would probably call it ripe, right? It's just if you want it that extra.
Yeah, they called it ripe, and they gave me a taste of it when I was there, and it was starting to get a little bit soft enough for a spoon, but not quite.
Okay.
I like it when it's drippy soft.
Put it over
And
crusty bread, or
When if here's how you know that it's like a good white truffle. When you walk in the door, if you can smell it, that's It's in a
right.
spot that
Unlike a good white truffle, where maybe you're like, oh, that smells delicious. If you walk in and you're like, what is rotting in here?
who did not wash their clothes.
That's
for the
how you
last
know
2
your
months.
boss is good.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another one kind of like it called Mont d'Or, MONTD''OR, and same idea. It gets soupy and delicious. And I had that cheese with Chef Terry in the town of Joigny in Burgundy, and I'll never forget it.
That's
Here's
special.
one thing. You know what asparagus does to your pea, right?
Yes.
These cheeses do the same thing. Just so you know.
Okay, good.
Just so
I
you
didn't
know.
know that.
So it doesn't freak you out when you
All right.
use the restrooms.
Oof.
So. And from a perspective of a plus, plain sliced baguette. It's
Toasted
not a time,
or no?
No toasted. It's not a time for flavored crackers. Just beautiful plain toasted baguette. Enjoy the cheese.
Enjoy the purity
Yeah.
of the funk. My taste, my mother, Jackie, has been taste testing some cakes for Neb to have kind of a signature dessert at Neb. And the one that we landed on is this orange hazelnut cake.
It's delicious.
And I've had it at Neb, but the other night when we were over there for dinner, she was making another version of it. I think she's just trying to get that recipe perfect. And
Well, you know her. She likes to dial it in.
Yeah.
And then I asked her because we gave them the recipe at Neb, and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to.
Okay.
Because it didn't come out like hers. So I asked her to remake it, and then when she gets it where she likes it, go down the Neb and make it for them.
yeah, write it out exactly how she's making it, etc. It is so good. And I think you said there's whole oranges just
In this one cake,
yeah,
there's 3 whole blood oranges.
and it rind and everything.
Rind and everything, right into the food processor.
Awesome. You get that kind of pulpy, a little bit texture in it with the hazelnut. It's so good. And super delicious.
Yeah,
I've had it now probably 3 or 4 times between her making it and Neb, and I'm not sick of it. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah. It's if I think back on it, I want to say it's a riff on Paul Bertoli's recipe from his book Cooking by Hand.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. And that's what we do, right? We've all learned from each other over the years, and so taking a base recipe that works and then doing your own riff on it. Like I think his has walnuts. We use toasted hazelnuts. Things like that.
Yeah.
Are simple little adjustments that you can make it your own.
Yeah. Well, it's so good. And I felt like the last version was pretty close to perfect. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I had for dinner last night. I had the rest of that cake. There were 2 slices and a bottle of wine. And so that was my whole entire supper last night.
Lovely.
And I was obviously on my own, so I can get away with that. But if Jackie was there, it never would have happened.
No.
She would have insisted on making something. But sometimes I like to just
Indulge.
Have your cake.
You bet.
and eat it too.
And eat it too.
And eat it too. All right. So you've heard about what the show is today. You've heard that it's going to be a fabulous holiday season. When we come back, Chef Gerald Gutierrez of OTM Grill and Greens and the Altitude Sky Lounge is going to be on the show. On Cairo, it's the Hot Stove Society, 97.3 FM.
All right.
All right.
So, you hear the difference? I still think that was a better open. There's just times when it's smoother. Pull up a chair. Sean's going to fit the microphone for you.
You want to be like an inch away or so.
Here, give it a test. It makes such a difference.
Test.
And toast. Yeah.
Toast.
Very good. Yeah. So, how's it going over it? It's ODM or OTM?
OTM.
OTM.
No, it's pretty good. It's I've been there for about 6 months now, but really gorgeous hotel.
Well, let's wait.
Good space.
No, you're doing perfect.
Oh, perfect.
I said,
Yeah.
I was asking you.
Got it. Yeah.
Is that where Foco and Brave Horse used to be?
Yes.
Is it like the okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Yeah. Have they put anything in there? Oh.
Yeah, Brave Horse Tavern.
Interesting. Classrooms?
Yeah.
Huh. Fascinating.
Good little space, good walk area. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Heads up, yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear what she said? That Northeastern purchased the Quoco Brave Horse building, Northeastern University.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You looked at that college, right? Back in Boston? Yeah.
Yeah,
She
they
looked at it when she was
yeah.
out looking at 1,000 schools to decide. That's what she did. And her mother.
I went to the furthest one I could find.
She went to the furthest one that she could find. She didn't go to the ones that offered her a scholarship. Dude.
Yeah. How you get there?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say from Seattle, I could get to Paris faster than I could get to her school. Yeah.
But it was pretty.
Thank you for
What-
your
what's
patience.
going on over there?
Just making sure everything's settled. All good. Making sure you look pretty.
That's me. All right. Did you try your mic?
Yeah.
All right.
Test.
Right up tight. Good. We're back in the kitchen here at the Hot Stove Society on Cairo, joined by Chef Loretta Douglas
Ooh, I've
Home chef.
graduated to chef,
chef.
Loretta. Perfect. I love it.
and Tom Douglas. Chef Gerald Gutierrez is here,
I am.
joining us from the OTM Grill and Greens and the Altitude Sky Lounge in Seattle here at the Astra Hotel. Where exactly is that? I was picturing it in that new kind of triangular building up there, right up the street here.
Yeah, not too far away from that. So just right where Thomas and Terry meet, where the old Brave Horse Tavern used to be. Around that area.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the new
That's
hotel
right on that
right,
We waited
across.
forever for you guys to open up.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous property, and just the space of it is amazing. Yeah.
You know, I went down to San Francisco to talk to Stanford Hotels about that. Is that you're the owner of your?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
And I was trying to convince them to use Quoco as their house restaurant, and we were going to dig underneath that, the kind of the courtyard there, so it'd be access to it because we had a basement. They told me to go fly a kite.
Well, lucky for Gerald.
You got a fairly windy city for that, right? We
They
can make that work.
Tell us about you first. Gerald?
Me, I've been around cooking for about 15, 16 years now, but very much a Seattle native. I was born in the Philippines. But ever since I was younger, I already knew I wanted to be a chef. I have a lot of ties here in Seattle with my uncle being Sammy down at Pike Place Market. Steelhead Diner with Kevin Davis for a long time. Canless
I
Restaurant.
worked
with,
at Steelhead Diner for a
really?
time. Yeah.
When was that?
Many moons ago,
I
when I was in college.
I was there around 2009, so it was still Anthony.
Probably would have been right around there.
Anthony
Yeah.
Polizzi,
Yeah.
Tiana. So really, really nice small spot, and being able to go down to Pike Place Market every given morning.
Yeah.
It's an amazing spot. So, and then Canless for a little bit with Jason Franny at that time.
Nice.
Fun. So the Filipino side of you still comes through in your menus. It seems like.
All the time, yeah. It's one universal dish that goes everywhere, right? So I remember I did an event with Marcus Samuelson, and that was kind of a connecting thing where every part of the world, sometimes we have the same dish but a different name, almost the same ingredients. So
What represents that in your repertoire? That same dish but with a different name? Is that
Um,
like the pancette, a noodle dish, or is it what is it that really feels that way to you?
I think for us it was that the chicken in asal, which we have right now on our dish, which is a turmeric marinated chicken, nice grilled on it, so you get those smoky aromatics, and then the kale with our Pacific Northwest. We normally do that with taro leaves and coconut braise. So nice rounded flavors, sweet, savory, a little bit of acid in there, and then the smokiness with the chicken that definitely rounds it all out.
Fun.
Sounds delicious.
And so, is that inform the entire restaurant?
Correct. Yes.
So the whole restaurant has got that Filipino sense about it.
For the most part, yeah. So we take our ingredients that we have, but we keep it within Pacific Northwest. So same concept with that grill and greens, but some sort of Filipino influence here and there. Yeah.
And can you describe to me what Filipino influences are besides the chicken and salt? Like what flavors, spices, techniques?
It's a lot of sweet, savory, a lot of acid coming from like the calamansi. So we have good citrus here. Just the smokiness of our spices, our vinegars that we use for pickles. Adobo is a really big staple for the Philippines, right? So that kind of flavor where you let things marinate over time, and then you cook it up today. Tomorrow is when we serve it. So the best flavors all come together.
And can you tell us a little bit about the Filipino street food culture? And that's kind of part of your cooking, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Filipino street culture is a big take on that chicken and asal. In the Philippines, you'd wake up, you'd smell that down the road, morning, night, or lunch. Even there, you would see that. You would see the smoke being grilled off, and they do that usually with a whole chicken that we do now, or you can get it in chicken skewers. And like our secret is that 7-Up barbecue sauce.
7-Up barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Like
Listen
literally,
to him. Yeah.
literal 7-Up.
Yeah, we do 7-Up in there, so that gives it that nice sweetness, that crispness, and it doesn't burn. So you're not adding any extra sugars or molasses, and it's giving it that little bubbliness too, that you don't know where it's coming from.
Interesting. Where do you
I was
go?
a Bubble Up kid myself. Do you remember Bubble Up?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Go ahead.
definitely not old enough to remember Bubble Up. Not to deviate from your cooking, but where do you go to get good Filipino food in Seattle?
I worked before at Musang, so that would be one of the best places, or down at Pike Place Market with Auntie Lila at Omar.
I love her little place.
Amazing
Little
place,
counter,
right?
yeah.
And the story is there. It's always good conversation to have with her, and the salmon head soup, tamarind soup, always hits the spot on a nice cold weather or even on a hot day.
What's the name of that?
Omar at the Fish Sinigang.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It used to be called the Oriental Mart, and now it's called the O-Mart.
Okay.
And Auntie
Lila.
Lila, yeah, she's been there for a long time,
Over
and I
50,
believe that.
50 plus years. Yeah.
But wasn't her family there before her, or was she?
Correct.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And of course, like many food places and farming situations in this neck of the woods, Filipinos farmed the Garlic Gulch. They farmed Bainbridge Island and Vashon Island and Whidbey Island, and along with the Japanese, it was just, you're part of our fabric.
Yeah.
It's really an important indelible ink that
Yeah, I think coming from the Philippines in '95, this was the best place for us to go. And I lived a little bit in Portland when I went to culinary school out there, but everything comes back to Seattle and just the culture here with how welcoming everyone is with the Filipino cuisine. It's an easy place to start up all that cuisine for sure.
How do you feel about hotel cooking? I mean, you've been in restaurants. Obviously, hotels are a different beast. It's still a restaurant, but there's a lot extra that gets put on you when you're operating in a hotel.
There definitely is. And I've been in hotel world for a while as well. I was with Hyatt Hotels for a while. And coming down to Astra, it's a lot more playful, I'd say.
Okay.
So with us having the 2 restaurants and the outlets, I get to play a little bit more on that flavor. And the open kitchen is always great to have.
Yeah. So you feel like you still get that kind of creative streak. Sometimes I think of hotel restaurants. I mean, we've talked about this on this show before, of like that trend of having a really wonderful restaurant within a hotel being relatively new and not necessarily having to have the kind of something for everyone menu, but it still feels creative and fun and
I'd say so. Yeah. It's every day that I come in and I walk into this beautiful kitchen that we have, open space, and our ownership is really good on letting me play with a lot of ingredients, and especially coming into it fairly new at 6 months at the hotel. Very, very playful in terms of our ingredients and being able to add like my flair into it with a Filipino take. That's a fun place to have. Yeah.
if people are coming into Odium, what is like the dish that they can't miss right now?
Ooh. Between that chicken in a sal or our pork chop that we just showed on New Day, both of those are my personal favorites. And then I even brought back the rainbow trout from Steelhead Diner's time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm always surprised at how much trout sells. We sell it at Palace Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
I bet we sell 30 a night, 30
Wow.
trout dishes a
Yeah,
night.
and we do it with whole trout as well. So
Yeah,
it's like
on the
whole
bone.
already. We actually do ours deboned, ready to go, so
Uh-huh.
we don't even have to worry about that.
Uh-huh.
So it's just the head and the tail, but they devour it. It comes back and the plate's empty.
Empty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, people love it, and I love that they'll buy the whole bone-in fish. I mean, we'll fillet it for them, but it is just something that's unexpected sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. OTM Grill and Greens is the name of the restaurant. It's at the Astra Hotel over there by the old Brave Horse Tavern. God, I had it in my mind straight up the hill here. And,
But I think we first have to start at the Altitude Sky Lounge because
oh,
it's
you
a
think
rooftop.
so? Are we going to have a
Mhm.
little radio meeting up
Yeah,
there?
we start up there and then we.
I
head
love
down for-
I love a radio meeting at a rooftop.
On a
Sounds
rooftop?
fun.
The last time I was in that neighborhood for an altitude situation was is it called M Bar?
M Bar, yeah.
M Bar, which
That
is
was
a
few blocks away.
Freeway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Monsoon and
And then
Awesome.
sometime I'll tell you the story about, you've probably heard it, with Chef Terry and I going to Joey's
I want to
Kitchen.
hear that. Okay.
there on the waterfront after the radio show for a cocktail and getting kicked out of
No.
Joey's. Yes.
And it wasn't
Listen.
because you were wearing shorts.
No. It was, we were wearing something that was inappropriate,
Oh boy.
apparently. We'll talk about that on another show. Thank you for coming and joining us, Gerald. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And go check out his joint there, OTM Grill and Greens, up in the Cascadia neighborhood, or as they say now, Amazon world. On Cairo, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go see if Michael.
Okay.
Come film that over.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
I won't call you Jeff anymore. I'll call you Chef. Not yet. All right.
Oh, I'm just gonna.
Just move on. Back to Melanie.
She's not on to.
Okay.
Talk about her a bit.
So let's do Loretta's lead.
Okay.
Short or scratch, Colby steak. We have no guests, so we can cook it.
Yeah.
You ready, Loretta?
Yep. Oh, I didn't. You know, I did these times wrong. I didn't change those. All right.
No problem. I understand. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Hot Stove Society radio show on Cairo. Tom Douglas here.
I am Chef Loretta Douglas.
And you know you have to speak French because you're sitting in Terry's seat.
I need a chapeau.
Yes, you do need a chapeau.
Oui, oui. Nobody wants to hear my French though.
You- Our pal Terry, RIP Chef Terry, we're thinking of you every day. Shortcut or scratch?
All right.
What's
We
the topic
are
today?
going to talk
Yeah.
about Calbee steak in a couple variations because I think you see it in the grocery store in a couple different formats. One is the
Classic short rib.
classic short rib, and the other is a flank steak.
Right.
And I buy both.
And now you see it on chicken breast. You see it on
Yeah.
everything now.
It's
so.
gotten popular
Salmon.
as in the pre-marinated meat section.
Mhm.
I am a connoisseur, I would say, of the pre-marinated meat section. That is like one of my go-to shortcuts. And Calbee, the Calbee ones are ones that I buy most often, I would say. And I use them in all kinds of ways, but it's also kind of a nostalgic flavor for me because I mean, I feel like I've been eating Calbee ribs my whole life. They used to be one of the things I would ask for my birthday dinner often because they've always been my favorite, that kind of sticky, sweet flavor. And I mean, we've been buying them forever. So I don't honestly remember as a kid if you were making the marinade yourself
Mhm.
or if we were buying it at the store.
Well, what I remember and where I first bought it as a meat product was at A&J Meats up on the top of Queen Anne Hill. And at that point, it was called Maui Meat, Maui, as in the island of Maui. And you would see it, you wouldn't really see it around town at all other than that butcher shop. And then it became very popular. And so, of course, you know, when I see something like that, or I had that flavor, I would often try to imitate it or see like, well, I can make this or blah, blah, blah. And so that's kind of how it got started in our house, was buying it at A&J's. And you can buy it on, on the thin sliced Korean style short ribs. You could buy it on flank steak. And generally they would even do sometimes a thin sliced top round and do so that you could just have it more like a steak.
Okay.
You don't see it on things like tri-tip too much because it's a thicker, tri-tip is maybe 1.5 to 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
And by the time it cooks all the way to the inside, the sweet marinade will burn on the outside.
Okay.
That's why you see it on very thin cuts of meat, things that cook quickly.
Okay.
And I also think that sometimes people feel like they have to cook it more than they do.
Yeah.
And I would say I've suffered from that in the beginning in trying to get it crisp. I would leave it on too long, and so my short ribs would dry out and they get too salty because there's a ton of salt in that marinade.
Okay.
And the more you render it, the more you dry it out, the saltier it gets. And so, oddly enough, it's the same salt.
Yeah.
But it tastes different when the beef is not overcooked, and it tastes more luscious and more moist. And I think people think because it's a short rib that it has to cook for a long time, and it really doesn't.
And I think of, one of the maybe big differences is that I always think of you as cooking these on the grill.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't break
Well, that's
out my
because you're
grill
too
very
lazy.
often. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. But I would say the flavor is definitely better on the grill when you add in that kind of char element to that salty, sweet piece. I mean, it's still my favorite when you do it. I buy the flank steaks more than the short ribs. And sometimes I cook the whole flank steak. Sometimes I slice it really thin and stir fry it and just have the sauce act like, extra flavor. And I'll
And all your veggies.
Well,
the thing that they do at the grocery store to kind of give it a head start, you'll see it's almost always been run like a flank steak, almost always been run through a cuber. And a cuber is what they make, or a fork.
Yeah,
a
like
fork
cube
machine.
steak, right?
Tenderizer.
It's
Right?
a tenderizer,
Yeah.
but it also opens up the pores of the meat to
Right.
accept the marinade more readily. And so you can get to a place in an hour that if you didn't pound out the flank steak or fork it with some sort of sharp implement, that it would take a day to get to.
Okay.
Right? So it can go really fast. They tend to put a lot of sugar on it, so that it does caramelize up quickly. Do you ever buy this?
I do, and what I like to make it myself, and
Uh-huh.
so I ask my butcher at Met Market to run it through. So I'll go pick out the steak,
Uh-huh.
and I'll give it to him, and then he'll run it through that fork or
Tenderizer. Yeah,
and then
cuber.
and then I do my own marinade.
The problem is I don't like the texture of the cubed meat.
It's too.
And so, when you see something like a steak that's all ready to go for chicken fried steak, that's the texture that you're getting, is that it's a tough piece of meat that's been run through the cuber to tenderize it, and then you bread it, and because of that cubing, it shreds the meat just a touch, and it accepts the egg and flour and breadcrumbs in a better way. So as far as your question of shortcut or scratch, I would definitely say shortcut.
Okay.
Because if you are going to make it yourself, you need to think the day before.
Yeah.
And that to
Because
me
you feel like it needs that longer time.
I like it with a little bit
Okay.
longer time. And if you get it in the grocery store, generally it's been marinated for at least a day or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And so, I like it with a little bit longer time. If I was making it at home, I would take my short ribs or I would take my flank steak and I'd use my meat hammer on it with the
The little cubey
textured
side.
side,
Yeah.
the cuber side. And then I would pound out the flank steak. Then I would make a classic, it's a little bit like a classic teriyaki. So just soy sauce, mirin, which is sweet sake. You can use sesame oil. And
I've heard of using like a pureed pear or apple.
Yeah, for the
sometime
sugar.
for
Yeah, you
some
could use honey
additional- Okay.
instead of the sugar. You can caramelize sugar with fresh ginger. That to me is the most tasty way to go. So you just put on your white sugar on the stove, get it to it's nice and golden brown, and then add fish sauce and ginger to it,
Okay.
and then build your
The rest
Maui,
of your sauce kind of around
marinade
it.
off of that,
Okay.
your kalbi marinade off of that. So there's lots of ways to go about it, but from a quickness standpoint, buying it in the stores
Okay.
is your best bet.
Well,
Good to know.
I
You win
feel,
again. Yes.
you know,
I will say it's going to cost you double.
Yeah.
And, unless you don't end up using all the ingredients that you purchased to make it yourself.
totally. And I mean, I feel like now we have this in Hawaii too, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
did you have it in Hawaii? Did we have it
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hawaii before you
Always.
started seeing it at
Yeah.
A&J? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the same as you would get if you go to a Korean barbecue
Similar.
restaurant.
Korean barbecue is more gochujang, the
Okay.
spicy marinade, than it is kalbi.
Okay.
But you can sometimes get kalbi there
Okay.
too. All right, up next, festive holiday appetizers on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm texting our next guest. Should we just do that? Yeah, let's do that. That would be great. And this is the one, again, it's a Zoom, and now we have a new formula where we're going to have. Oh, you did bring it.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Hello, how are you?
Excellent. Here's Loretta over here.
Hi, Loretta.
Hi.
And I'm Becky. We've talked a few times. Hi.
Hi, Becky.
And super fun. Her husband, Bo, was in one of the first summer camps.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, he sends his regards to everyone.
He came to a couple of them, didn't he?
He did. Hi, Tom. I don't know if you remember Bo, my husband, who came to 2 of your camps and is one of your most ardent admirers.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. I'd have
In
to see his
Vermont.
face.
Yeah.
He has
and
the same
since he
haircut as
came-
my husband.
Well, there
We
you
can
go.
point
That
out a
explains
haircut.
everything.
Well, we'll get started in a minute here, Melanie.
Super.
Even less, even.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Ready?
All right. Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show coming to you from the beautiful Hot Stove Kitchens in downtown Seattle, Hotel Andra, 4th of Virginia. We're here every day.
Come see us and
Come
watch this
see us.
live show.
We're welcoming into our kitchens Melanie Kahn on Zoom, actually, and she's got a new book out called Mason Goes Mushrooming. And I will tell you, Melanie, that I've had this book in my gym bag for the last 6 weeks, maybe 8, when it was given to me. Was it by you, Becky?
Yeah,
who
Melanie
gave it?
sent it.
Yeah. And because life got in the way, it just kind of sat there and sat there and sat there. And I've been looking at it. And being a new grandfather of to 3 youngsters, I can't wait till they are 25 years old to take them out when they're not going to kill themselves on mushrooms. So, that being said, your book is about a young man who goes out with his puppy dog and goes mushrooming. Is that true?
Yes, Tom, not just any young man. My son Mason is the forager, the real life forager of Mason Goes Mushrooming, and he just turned 21. So that gives you a sense of how old we.
Okay, come back to us.
These are actually amazing mushroom hunters.
Oh, wait a second. Our sound is breaking up. So
Okay.
talk to us again.
All right.
All right.
Talking.
So go ahead back to where you said it is about my son. He's now 21 years old.
All right. I'll just start over.
Okay.
Yes, Tom, it actually is about Mason, who is my son, who's now 21 years old. He started out as a babe in arms foraging, and kids are actually amazing mushroom foragers. Hang on, are you having sound issues?
Yes.
Okay, just stop me and I'll start over.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Keep going from kids are amazing mushroom foragers.
Okay. So kids are actually amazing mushroom foragers. It's like a treasure hunt or an Easter egg hunt or finding seashells at the beach. They really can learn mushrooms quite easily. And the reason that I wrote Mason Goes Mushrooming is because there are no books about foraging geared towards children. And there's 4 beginner mushrooms, a morel, a chanterelle, which you've already mentioned today, a black trumpet, and a lobster mushroom, all of which are fairly simple to identify, do not have poisonous lookalikes, and kids are really very good once they learn them. They can see, they're close to the ground, and they really enjoy being out in the woods.
Well, I love the fact that they're close
Close
to the ground.
I know. It's great. I don't have to stoop over looking for them. This book absolutely makes me want to take my toddler
It scares the heck out of me.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
from
my
that
gosh.
perspective.
I know that he would love it. We're in full like treasure hunt mode right now. And I know he would just love it.
And being in nature is so special. Yeah.
And so I think what you said is important. You kind of go out with a plan, and you're not just going mushrooming. We're going to go chanterelling, or we're going to go lobster mushrooming. So you're looking for something very specific.
100%. Yes. And Tom, actually, one of your recipes for a pan roasted mushroom dish that my husband makes all the time with the demi glaze and the duck fat, you're familiar with this.
Of course.
This inspired me to write this book because it contains such a variety of mushrooms, right? And when you learn a few beginner mushrooms and you go out looking for those specific mushrooms with your family, you can come home and make Tom's mushroom roast, which is a perennial favorite. So I highly recommend that you potentially take those grandchildren of yours out because you know how to mushroom forage.
I honestly, I don't. I've never really gone. Jackie's gone. My wife's gone. I've never been foraging for mushrooms other than, on a stroll with Chef Terry out in the woods in Burgundy, or where you come across something, or we've certainly been out with a pig in Italy looking for truffles. Didn't find any, and certainly down in the Smoky Mountains of eastern Tennessee, we went mushrooming, but didn't find any. It's
so maybe it's you.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I have a phobia.
Well, I was just out in Seattle and went to some of the mushroom fairs out there. I can tell you that there is a huge population of foragers, which you probably already know because they probably come to the back of your restaurant.
They certainly do.
With wonderful foraged treasures. And Mason Goes Mushrooming is a book for families who are interested in learning how to forage for mushrooms. And to get over, in some sense, what you're describing, which is there's not a really good access point, right? There's not a way in for families that do want to get involved in the woods and do want to learn what the fungi are that are right in the backyards in Seattle. There are so many fantastic mushrooms that you can just, easily learn to find. And this book is just one way to do that. But mushroom clubs are an incredible way to go learn how to forage with your family. Mushroom clubs exist all throughout the Seattle area.
So if you're new to this, you just look up mycological clubs and go that route?
Yeah, I mean, in the Puget Sound, the Cascade Mycological down in Oregon, the Kitsap Peninsula, the South Side, there are so many, what I call us kooky foragers, because we're really passionate about what we do. We really love mushroom foraging, and we love cooking with mushrooms, which I know, Tom, that you also love cooking with mushrooms, because, like I said, our favorite recipe is in Tom's Big Dinners.
So, Melanie, when Mason comes back with an armload of mushrooms, what ones are you most excited to get into the kitchen? So,
I love that
question. If you ask me that, I would say I'm more of a porcini guy. I like a mushroom that has a little stronger flavor, like a matsutake for a little cup of matsutake tea. I love a shiitake. I know that they are they're not foraged anymore; they're growing, but what ones do you love?
So since my lane is children, and I'm really trying to convince kids not only to entertain the idea of going foraging and being out in the woods, but also the culinary aspect, right? Many kids say, but I don't like mushrooms. What don't they like about them? They usually don't like the texture, right?
Right.
So I always, when I'm preparing mushrooms, I hit them with some, duck fat or some lovely clarified butter, a little tiny bit of out of it. A bully like you like the porcini, that's a pretty advanced mushroom, right? Because that's got a lot of texture to it. It's got a lot of that, almost like a foie gras, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a chanterelle, on the other hand, you can really crisp them up, just like you can with the shiitake that you mentioned, or a black trumpet, and get them to that like chip-like, texture.
Right. Oven
And when
roasted.
when I feed them to kids at that point, they look at me and they say, "You're trying to trick me. That was bacon," or that wasn't a mushroom. So I have some tricks up my sleeve with cooking mushrooms to entice kids to try them, at which point they're usually a convert. I say it's like, bringing guns to a knife fight, because you hit a chanterelle with some butter and a little bit of sea salt, and that thing tastes delicious.
Yeah, and there's certain magic matches with those too, like the summer chanterelles and fresh corn, or there's just some lovely, a little toasted shiitake on a Thai beef salad. There's just some real magical matches for mushrooms.
Absolutely. And the ones that you like, I would call slightly more advanced. A matsutake or a porcini, that is for a little higher grade, palate, and not necessarily an entrance point mushroom. Although absolutely phenomenal to cook with if you like the umami flavor like we do as grown-ups.
Right.
Kids are still developing that taste.
Well, if you haven't seen this book, the illustrations are charming. The book is called Mason Goes Mushrooming, and it's a great introduction to mushrooming by Melanie Kahn, illustrated by Ellen Korbonsky. And I would suggest it as a perfect little kind of Christmas morning Christmas present, so that, how sometimes on Christmas morning can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
This would be a
Sit
nice
down
way
and
to kind of
read.
relax and read and have a new story in your repertoire.
In your library. Yeah.
Sounds
your little
lovely.
library. Thank you so much, Melanie, for coming on and for sharing your son's mushroom habit.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It looks like I might need to send you a second copy after being carted around for.
Oh, no. We like a little patina.
Thank you, Melanie.
All right.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you all so much for having me.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Awesome.
Up next, Loretta's going to lead us down the path of shortcut or scratch. Calbee steak is the conversation.
Can't wait.
Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society show, 97.3 FM. Okay, Sean, we're not doing any more of these until we figure this out.
That's more of something for Becky than Sean.
It's for both.
Yeah.
John's got to figure it out, and then Becky can't book anybody else.
Yeah.
No more seconds.
I got too close to the stove and melted my
I did the same with the...
synthetic sweater a little. I feel this.
Our Zooms until we figure this out.
Okay, so we can,
So did you make a note for Sean and Tori to kind of piece that together? Okay.
I mean, different than I did. So we could do the appetizer. I guess.
That's too holiday. Hold on, I need a second to think about it.
Or we could put them on next week.
Well, we have a full show.
If he's on 520, he's already on. In the future, I would just say,
Don't worry. Yeah, don't stress. We'll find you another slot because we can talk about.
And I asked From the
whatever.
audience, I was going to ask you guys, are you guys cool if I do kind of a little survey that they just give to me? Just like what segments were your favorite? What do you like about what?
Yeah.
It wouldn't go to guests. It would just be something.
Well, I could easily, like, I need to talk about is the New Year's Eve menu. So I could have just done that for a segment.
Right. Okay.
So don't ever worry about that. Yeah.
And I do have a couple backup segments. Depending on what else we're talking about, we can figure it out.
Online.
I talked to Laura Hamilton for a bit about new people that she's got coming up in the
Uh-huh.
future, just to kind of get us on board to, share.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you believe Bridget? Just go right after her.
You're a little bitter about the Laura not being more sharing.
We're on live.
No, I'm sorry.
No, leave it. We're on live.
Terry.
Indonesian questions. Okay, what are we missing?
So we could do festive holiday appetizers.
Yes, let's go there.
And
What is that? What segment?
that is hour 2, segment 2.
Okay, let's jump into that. All right, here we go. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. My name is Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
And it's time for some festive holiday appetizers. I don't know about you, since I'm the one who generally cooks the holiday meals at our house. I have my quick go-tos that I like. The easiest one, the least expensive one really, is I get out my little burner, my butane burner, and I make a big pot of bacon and garlic and herb-laced clams.
Yeah.
And that you can just continue as you need to. Put the pan right on the burner, out on the table where everyone can get at it. I cook my bread out on the charcoal grill. I give it a nice hard char, so I have that good smoky bread. I dip it into the butter and olive oil that's in the sauce. And then as I need to, I can just turn on the burner for a second just to bring it back up to a warmth.
Break out your camp stove if you don't have.
Well,
That's a good
these
idea.
things are perfect.
Yeah.
They're $30. They are a perfect little burner for just this type of scenario. An extra burner at Thanksgiving or Christmas, a burner for the buffet when you have a little crowd
Yeah.
coming and you want to
Great
keep things
idea.
warm.
I have one of those from summer camp, and I haven't used it yet.
Oh, they're
I'm-
awesome.
I'm on it.
You can put pretty much any size pan on it.
Mhm.
So if you've got 20 people and you've got clams, that's what, 5 pounds of clams? You can put them right out there and people can dip their bread into it. No double dipping in a crowd. Don't forget that part. But yeah, it's really just a
brilliant.
lovely, simple, festive holiday appetizer.
One thing I think that you kind of taught me about apps, or that maybe not even on purpose, that I learned from you about apps is you do a lot of seafood appetizers. I feel like you often do shrimp or clams or
Crab legs,
or even a smoked salmon, smoked trout, things like that. And I think it makes a lot of sense around the holidays because often when people are cooking holiday meals, they're doing a big roast or turkey, if it's Thanksgiving, or ham. And I always fear like bringing an appetizer to a party that kind of competes with what the main show
That's
is.
so kind of you.
And but I think
I don't know where she
seafood
gets it.
is such like a safe choice, and it adds this other element that a lot of times people aren't cooking on their holiday dinners.
That you're splurging. Like if when I crab legs and I shuck them and I put them on the half shell and I've made a little spicy plum jam or I've done something to kind of dip them in. You're really telling your guest. I mean, that's something people get every day.
Yeah,
right.
And so you're telling them that you've thought a lot about this. You're putting your money where your mouth is, and you are. I don't want to say you're probably showing off a little bit, but you're also showing a lot of care for the people that are coming to your house.
Well, and it's also like for us, we have caviar at Christmas. We've always
Christmas as you want.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Expensive and such a luxury and not necessary lend to that really festive, special atmosphere. Like this is something you're doing that's out of the ordinary. And I like holiday, I like thinking of holiday meals and holiday appetizers kind of in that vein. Like, what are you going to do to make it special? Like, when we talked on our Thanksgiving show, we talked about how we don't really mess with Thanksgiving dinner because it's the one time of year that you're eating that
special
menu. And so, I like to think about appetizers in the same way. A cheese plate is always delicious, of course, but maybe we have a lot of cheese plates throughout the year. So what can you do that's...
And it doesn't... I mean, I've said it on this show before, but a cheese plate is lovely. You're right. Slicing a salami is lovely, but it's something that any one of us could have gone to the store and bought. And so how you ornate that cheese plate with a homemade cracker or with even just taking the time to toast baguette slices, just put some effort into it that it becomes your cheese plate. A sweet and spicy or a salty, spicy roasted almond, or anything like that.
Homemade little jam,
that changes it to become yours. Anyone can go out and buy a poisse or a Havarti or whatever it is that you're choosing, but not everyone will make the effort to do something special to go with it.
Well, I think too, you're going to a holiday party, and it is that it's more special, and you're just bringing one thing. So that is the time to not just bring a cheese plate, but to do something unique and special. And I read some things on Food and Wine, kind of wanted to get your take. Onion jam and goat cheese arugula. And that onion jam is flavored with balsamic, sumac, and coriander.
So a savory arugula.
Yes.
Sounds
and,
fabulous.
And just little bite size.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make that for Hanukkah this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, why not?
Another one was shakshuka deviled egg. And so you make a tomato jam. And so you just do a regular deviled egg, but then a little beautiful tomato jam on top, just to make it that much more elegant.
I had shakshuka for breakfast at Lola today.
Oh, how was it?
Yes, it was delicious.
Awesome. Another one, just I've done this before. No, I have not done this one. Crispy smashed potatoes with pickles and ginger spiked sour cream. So just taking that effort in little bite-sized pieces, I think is a fun thing to do at the holidays. Last, I listened to your piece from December 30th last year, and the topic was building a substantial appetizer party. Anybody can go back and listen by searching Hot Stove Society New Year's Extravaganza. And there were great tips on fancy canapes, hors d'oeuvres, including, is it bagna cauda? Is that how you say that?
Which is a hot anchovy and garlic broth made from olive oil. The broth is the olive oil.
Yeah.
And it's just something you dip toast or veggies into. And
delicious.
Yeah, really good.
And you talked about shot glass soup, which I thought was a nice little thing you could do.
Well, it is, because it's, at a cocktail party, it's hard to have a cup of soup unless it's a single portion, just a quick blast. So yeah, a little butternut squash or a little
mushroom bisque,
lobster bisque.
I think the one that Terry talked about, which kind of I had a hard time was oyster soup with spinach. That sounded interesting.
Well,
Smooth.
there is the classic oyster Rockefeller that has a little
Right.
spinach topping on it. So maybe he was riffing on that. I don't know.
Could have been. And you had roasted veggie bites, quiche, and then my favorite, all-time favorite, is the popsicle lamb chop, and that's special. Can you make that ahead and take it to someone's home, or do you need to warm it up a little bit?
Here's what I would do. I would cook it all the way. I'd put my foil on the bones.
Mhm.
I'd have it all ready to go. And then when you get to someone's house, you let them know in advance that you're bringing these and that you need a 150 to 200 degree oven
On
for
a sheet
about
pan?
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And if they
Definitely
say, well,
tell
you know,
the host.
yeah,
you
if they
need oven
say,
space.
I'm sorry, I got pies in my oven, or I'm going to have my turkey in my oven, then you can't bring that out.
Bring them over to my
But
house.
you have to, yeah, you have to let them know. When, but I have no problem asking them.
Yeah.
That to me is just a polite thing to do.
Yeah.
You can't just assume there's going to be space for you.
Yep. And then you'd cut them. So you'd let
All
them rest-
done, all cooked, all
Okay.
done.
Okay.
You're not even, you can't be dirtying up or smelling up their party
Right.
by trying to do that process.
Right.
There. I think that's something you have to do at home. And you just, honestly, if you just take a little bit of my Rub with Love exotic mushroom rub and put it on, pan fry it on with a little bit of olive oil. So good.
Good. Agree.
The other thing, another trick on those popsicle lamb chops is there's always a fat trim that you're going to take off of those, right? Because they don't cook long enough to render the fat. You have to really
when you
trim
do
them up.
So if you were doing the whole thing on
So-
the grill, you wouldn't need to take off the fat.
Yes, you need to because they're only at half-inch thick. Those
I've been there.
popsicle lamb chops.
Yeah.
Unless you make a double chop, then they're bigger. But my point is, you have to take the fat off, take the silver off because they don't cook very long.
Okay.
And use the fat, render the fat in a pan if you're not on your charcoal grill.
Mm-hmm.
Render the fat in a pan, and then you get a little bit more lamby flavor when you pan fry in the lamb fat.
Brilliant. I've got a couple of those.
I
Yeah.
keep those in my freezer. Pan. Can we take a look at that, Sean, and see what we think? The fuchsia Dunlop. Let's try it.
I think the second one was better. We shut our laptops and you delved into the book, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't just as it was specific things. And
Yeah.
I mean, you had good questions on the other one, but I think the second one.
Well, the
I
other
don't know
one was
if better.
14 minutes. That's got to be cut down by 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. They got the worst of it last week. All right, you ready? I'll do an intro. How many minutes is it?
This one was the 10:45.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about what you talked about?
Just as an intro.
I put a little. This last week we talked about our background perspective. This week we go into review in more detail. If that's helpful.
I need to. Your notes are more. I forget that they're there because I didn't used to have notes.
And let me know it's helpful or not.
Yeah.
I could also.
No, no,
mention
it's all
size
good.
board. One of those books that Laura brought. The print is so big. I'm like, "What is this?" I can read it. It's awesome.
Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society show. We're going to revisit with Fuchsia Dunlop. She was in town in L.A. We're going to revisit with Fuchsia. Will you make a note, Sean, please? Welcome back. I'm Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
And we're going to go to part 2 of our pre-recorded segment of Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food by Fuchsia Dunlop. And, Becky, last week we kind of talked about Fuchsia and her love of everything Chinese and language and the writing and the spirit and
She's
understanding the culture through the food. This week we're going to delve into the book itself a bit about some of the recipes that were in there and some of the places that we're going to visit culturally through the food of the area. Okay, Sean, there you go. Ask it on the radio.
Okay.
Ready.
And we're back in the kitchen
Nice to
here
see you
on the
again.
Hot Stove Society show. It's segment number 2 with Fuchsia Dunlop. She was on last week with her new book called Invitation to a Banquet, The Story of Chinese Food. Fuchsia, welcome back to the Hot Stove Society kitchens.
Hi, Tom.
Becky is here with me, and we've been scouring your book for questions and thoughts and for the energy that it brings to me being the kind of Chinese cook, if I could say so, who learned how to cook Chinese by sitting the closest seat to the door of the Chinese kitchens that I went to. I learned funny little stolen techniques of like a whole crab, whacking it up and then literally rolling it in cornstarch and dropping it in a deep fryer before it gets to the wok. I had never even thought about that until I sat next to the kitchen door of a Chinese seafood restaurant.
And just watched.
Yeah,
That's great. Well, both of you have such a strong curiosity for the whole process. It's great. But Fuchsia, I had a question. Last week you had mentioned a word, I think it was called "horho" or something that means that one word in Chinese means so much.
Yeah. So,
can you describe that? And if the next generation of chefs, is language evolving to include more words like this?
well, so this word there's a key principle of Chinese cooking, and it goes back. I mean, I know it's mentioned in cookbooks from, a couple of hundred of years ago at least. Huo ho literally means fire and timing and waiting. And it's about being sensitive to how long you need to cook something, the control of heat. And people say, there's a great cookbook writer from the 18th century who said that once a chef had mastered huo ho, which, as you say, expresses so much about culinary technique, then he's basically mastered cooking. So yes, there are lots of culinary words and concepts like that don't have equivalents in English, no direct equivalents at all. And I would say, yes, the cuisine is certainly evolving, and people are using more and more sort of new ingredients and different processes. So, for example, Western baking has become popular, making cakes and biscuits, cookies, which was not really very, very important in Chinese cooking before. And so I think that, the vocabulary of Western baking is something that young chefs will be getting a grip of now.
Interesting. Thank you.
Your whole book, The Invitation to a Banquet, is kind of like a course in how to eat Chinese and what the meanings are behind each course, and whether it's be chopsticks or knife-shaved noodles or whatever it is. So let's talk about the Chinese table, because I think it's confusing to Westerners sometimes. In your book, you kind of start with the origins of Chinese food, the naked flame, say. And for me, the naked flame means when I go to Chinatown and I go back and I see the pig oven with a circular box, or the box is square, but the flame is circular around the pig. And it's really a naked flame against it. I would guess your definition would be more thoughtful than that.
Yeah, well, with naked flame, I mean, I was looking at the origins of cooking, which the Chinese see as being the discovery of fire and cooking food rather than eating it raw. Mm-hmm. And also that chapter, I mean, as you say, the kind of ovens in which to roast pork, they're so sort of untypical of the mainstream of Chinese cuisine, because most Chinese people, even in the present day, and certainly for much of Chinese history, just don't have ovens at home. So people don't roast and bake. Everything is cooked on the stovetop in a wok or a pot or a steamer. And so roasting as a technique is normally left to the specialists. So you go to your sort of roast meat shop for your roast dark and your char siu pork and so on.
And you use it generally, of my experience, is that they use it as an ingredient in another dish and not necessarily as an entree. So if you're getting char siu pork, you might put it in fried rice. You might put it in your lobako, the daikon radish cakes. You might put it in all sorts of things, wonton soup, but only as a small bit of that flavor profile.
Yeah, well, you've highlighted a very important aspect of Chinese cuisine, which is that people in China traditionally ate mainly grains and vegetables. and meat was used more as a flavor principle. So sure, at the Chinese New Year or at a wedding, you'd eat lots of meat, but normally people would use meat, would cut it in small pieces and cook it with vegetables. And sometimes, as you said, with cured meat or roasted meat, which has a really intense flavor, you can just add a little bit and you can make, vegetable ingredients taste sensational.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about tasting the pot, or tasting the invisible.
Well, yes. So one of the things that's really noticeable about Chinese restaurants in the West and the way that Western people eat Chinese food is they always concentrate on the really tasty dishes. So sweet and sour is very popular. Now Sichuanese mala dishes are very popular. And Westerners typically eat them with fried rice or fried noodles, again, which are really have interesting flavors. But in China, food has always been about health and balance, as well as exciting tastes. And a good Chinese meal always includes not only the tasty and exciting dishes, but very delicate dishes, which in Chinese they call qingdan, which means, well, it's often translated into English as bland or insipid, which just sounds so boring. But in Chinese, it sounds lovely and peaceful and refreshing. So a typical Chinese meal for Chinese people will have not only the tasty dishes, but also plain steamed rice, very lightly stir-fried or blanched vegetables, maybe a very delicate broth-like soup. And so tasting the invisible, I wanted to talk about this and how the importance of the understated tastes in Chinese cuisine, because it's so much part of the culture and the way people in China actually eat their food.
And, the idea that one can relate to another. For example, you have a little chat on what is an ingredient, a braised pomelo pith. I mean, we wouldn't ever think of, we love bitter in our country. Radicchio is one of the most popular ingredients right now. But that pith adds a bitter flavor. And then you talk about, in the same one, shrimp eggs, or like if you think about shumai, where they have the cod roe eggs on the top of the shumai. There's little ingredients that you wouldn't think as a Westerner that would be part of the emotion of that food. Because I think sometimes it's as much emotion as it is flavor.
Yeah, well, that dish that you mentioned, so one chapter is centered on that dish. It's called xiazi you pi, pomelo pith with dried shrimp eggs. Now, pomelo pith, that giant citrus fruit, between the shiny skin and the fruit, there's a thick layer of really boring, cottony, tasteless pith. And anyone else would just throw it in the bin. But the Chinese are so creative and imaginative and ingenious in cooking that Cantonese chefs have found a way. They soak the pith and they rinse it to get rid of that bitterness you've mentioned. And then they cook it in a really lavish broth made from a stock, made from chicken and ham and pork and toasted fish. And so you give it this amazing savory flavor, and you finish it by reducing the sauce. So you end up with these mounds of utterly comforting, delicious, mashy something. It's a little bit like mashed taro or mashed potato, but with this sumptuous, rich, savory flavor, and then scattered with toasted dried shrimp eggs, which are also another umami hit. And so you've taken, these Cantonese chefs have taken something that other people would just chuck out and made it into not just palatable, but something that's so delicious. It's actually one of my favorite Cantonese dishes. And that's typical of Chinese chefs, to just be open-minded about ingredients and to use technique to make the most of everything at their disposal.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I can't imagine having one of my young prep cooks saving me the grapefruit pith. And the other thing I find funny is I bought a New Year's pomelo last year thinking that it was going to be so juicy and delicious. It was about the size of my head. And it was all about the look and the feel and the pith than it was. The fruit was terrible on the inside.
Pretty centerpiece.
Yeah, exactly. The Chinese table is a bit confusing sometimes when you for a Westerner, because we come in thinking courses, and in China it's more side dishes, right? Everything's kind of served. The rice is the main, and then the other dishes around it are balanced and are sides. The other thing that I think is interesting about Chinese food is how much is relied upon for purchased ingredients like fish sauce or hoisin, or it doesn't. Sometimes as an American chef, I always want to make all those things, but the Chinese cooks seem to be perfectly willing to use these pre-made sauces that are delicious.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pre-made sauces, I mean, they're sort of, maybe nowadays we think of them as being mass manufactured sauces, but in China you also get artisanal soy sauces and vinegars, and these were the old-fashioned traditional ingredients. So you would just have, a few bottles of sesame oil and Shaoxing wine and soy sauce and vinegar, and then you can conjure up all kinds of flavors. So they're very much part of Chinese cuisine, as you say. And about the table, so yes, I mean, one of the mistakes I think Westerners do in Chinese restaurants is you go with a group of friends to a Chinese restaurant, everyone orders their favorite dish, and you may or may not share them. But if you're sharing the dishes, you're going to end up with some repetition. So 2 people might order something sweet and sour, 2 people might order a pork dish. And a real Chinese meal, a good Chinese meal, is all about balance. It's like it's the set of dishes, and they should be chosen so that they offer a really delightful contrast without any repetition. So you have different sorts of main ingredients. You have some dishes might be dark in color, cooked with lots of soy sauce, but then you'll have some sparklingly fresh, vibrant greens, or a pale dish. Some things will be dry, some things soupy, some deep fried, some boiled. So that's why a well-planned Chinese menu is just so satisfying, because your palate never gets bored. Everything contrasts with everything else.
I love walking down the aisles of my favorite Asian grocery and seeing the mushroom soy and the black bean soy, and just all kinds of ways to change one dish into another so easily.
Yeah.
If you were to tell people how to get started putting on a Chinese banquet, the number one thing that I stress here at our cooking school is the breadth of the wok. That is really a flavor profile or a flavor ingredient to most Chinese food that we struggle with on American stoves to get to the right temperature. We try to cook too much in the wok, at a time, so you end up boiling. And then the thing that I think is left out of our cuisine so much is steaming. I love how much steaming goes on in Chinese cooking.
Yeah. Well, as you said about the breadth of the wok, again, that's about huo, the control of heat. And the key things, if you're trying to stir fry in a domestic kitchen, is to make sure that the wok is very hot before you start putting ingredients in. And as you mentioned, don't overload the wok. Make small portions so they cook quickly. And that will help you achieve a lovely fragrance of stir frying. But as you mentioned also, when people think of Chinese food, they always think of stir frying in a wok first. But steaming is arguably the most essentially Chinese method, because the Chinese have been steaming since the Neolithic age. Like, they found pottery steamers at Stone Age sites in various parts of China. And steaming is also so versatile. It's not just dumplings and dim sum, but you can steam soups, you can steam whole chickens, you can steam practically anything. And it creates these lovely, gentle, nourishing textures, which are a very pleasing contrast to foods that are deep fried or stir fried, cooked in oil.
Well, and to me, it's the most elegant way to bring out a really good ingredient, because you're not your deep fried shrimp really tastes like the deep fryer as much as it does the shrimp. Whereas a delicately steamed shrimp, if you've bought the best product, you'll get the most out of it from a flavor perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, it emphasizes what the Chinese would call the benwei, the essential flavor of your ingredients. And also from a practical point of view, if you're cooking a Chinese meal, if you do several dishes in a stir frying in a wok, it's quite hard work to have them ready. Whereas if you have something that's steamed, or you have a slow cooked stew and a sort of cold dish you've prepared in advance, it just becomes much more relaxed for the cook.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to chat with you, Fuchsia. Anytime you come out with a new book, which you seem to do fairly often, you are welcome on our show. We love having you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Great talking to you too.
All right. It's called The Invitation to a Banquet, The Story of Chinese Food. Fuchsia Dunlop is the author. She's got many books out there on the same subject lines. And I would suggest getting out and getting this book as a little Christmas present to yourself. Don't give
wait
it
to
away.
read it. Buy two.
All right. We'll be right back here on the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Previous show, or if he's going to edit this show before it goes out, because it can't go out the way it is. Hello, sir.
How are you? A while. It has been.
Hi.
Michael.
All right, hold the chair.
Right here?
You bet.
Right there.
Sean will get you set up on the mic. We're going to go back and pick up.
Michael. John, nice to meet you. Okay.
Just talk right up into that thing. You still don't have brick and mortar?
That's what I'm working on.
You're working on.
Yeah. So we're running an Indiegogo campaign to raise the final funds. It's about half built.
Uh-huh.
And it's in Kirkland, and we'll be ready to actually open in a couple of months.
Nice.
Yeah.
Too bad you missed Christmas.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
It has been a difficult project.
Oh,
It
man.
really has been.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
If that works for you. Because there's a lot of people who are thinking like you, but just haven't pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
All right, we are back in the kitchen at the Hot Stove Society show. It's been a fast-paced, lovely day. Thank you for joining us, whether you're in your kitchen, your garden, your car, wherever you happen to be. Maybe you're decorating a tree right now. Who knows? It's all possible.
Early season trees.
That's the voice of Loretta Douglas. We've invited Mr. Michael Pickney, aka the Cookie Monster, to come back on our show. How many years ago was it when you were on our show?
I wasn't on the show.
We saw you, we saw you at the flower show.
Yeah, we met. Yeah, at the flower and
That's
garden
where
show.
we met.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're still plugging away, making the
Absolutely.
best cookies in town.
Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
what we're all about, is the cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us about your
I
adventure.
started the company because I'm a cookie monster. Unlike you, I'm not a trained culinary professional.
Uh-huh.
I grew up baking on my mom's knee, and way back when I was living in New York City, I wanted to make the best chocolate chip cookie in the world, and not for commercial reasons, just for fun.
Just for you.
Yeah, just for me. And so I'd make cookies, I'd take them to work, and then 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months later, when I felt like baking again, I'd take them to work with the changes that all my friends had asked for. And I was a popular guy.
I bet you
that
were.
worked really well. And that's really how it came about. I developed 2 recipes over literally decades. When I had my own kids, of course, they loved it too, being taste testers. And at some point, people raved about them so much that I started the company. Yeah, so we started in 2009. We were in Whole Foods for a while, but eventually we became an online company at lovethisecookies.com. Like, you're going to love these cookies.
Right.
A good friend of mine came up with that most brilliant thing ever. But yeah, lovethisecookies.com. And then we're in farmers markets. So Queen Anne during the season, and University District Ballard in West Seattle all year round.
And are you still doing all that and maintaining a regular job, or is this now paying the bills?
This has been my full-time job for quite some time.
Good.
Unfortunately, it wasn't paying all the bills for all that time. But now it is paying the bills, and now we're really excited because we've kind of hit the knee of the curve, and we really have figured out what we're doing. And we're about to open a store in Kirkland.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yay, a brick and
Yeah.
mortar.
We have a store in Kirkland. We're over in Totem Lake Village.
Right. I actually have been to your store in
Oh, good.
Kirkland, and I enjoyed the pizza very, very much.
Oh, good. So tell us about the new store. I mean, what's been going on? You've been kind of fundraising for it. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. We have an Indiegogo campaign. And if you go to our website, lovethesecookies.com, you can click on a banner at the top. We're half built. It's going to be in Kirkland. We're really excited about the theme for the store because it was inspired by the farmers markets. And the theme for the store is local artisan makers.
Oh, nice.
So in addition to cookies from this local artisan maker, we're going to have espresso from 2 local coffee roasters that I've gotten to know over the years, Boon Boona and Middle Fork Roasters. We're going to have gifts from a number of local artisan makers. Maybe Rub with Love. We're going to have chocolate, chocolate chip cookies. Our cookies we describe as all natural, #1 ingredient, Stark Belgian chocolate. I'm sorry, Hannah from. And then we're going to have apple treats on an ongoing basis. Not just the store and selling our products, but all the people I've gotten to know over the years and knew that I will get to know and selling their products as well.
Fun.
That's awesome.
We were just making apple pie last week on the show, trying to figure out the best apples. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. But the best apples for apple pie. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, absolutely. Pink Lady.
Pink Lady.
Yeah. I just bought some because I'm going to make an apple pie tomorrow for Thanksgiving. Yeah, Pink Lady.
Sean, can you just take out the Thanksgiving reference on that one? Sorry, this is
right.
It's a week after
pre-recorded.
So
Gotcha.
no problem.
Yeah. Which apple do you guys like?
Well, it depends on what I want out of the end product, which is if I want like an applesaucey kind of apple pie where you don't really see the slices anymore, then I'll go with a Granny Smith or an Opal. If I want a pie that still has the texture of the sliced apples, which is not my thing, then I would use a Cosmic Crisp or a Honey Crisp or something that's going to stay in the sliced form. Firmer. Gala, Fuji, something like that. So anyway, 2 different kinds.
I had a question. How many flavors? I've had your cookies. They're delicious. And I've seen you at the farmers markets. How many flavors do you have?
We have 16 regular flavors. 10 of them are traditional cookies with wheat, butter, and eggs. And 6 of them are miracle cookies. And they're a miracle because they're vegan and gluten-free and delicious. And of course, that's a miracle.
That's a miracle.
Yes.
And we do, specials, etc. And in fact, Tom, I have something special for you today.
Really? What do you got?
Absolutely, in this bag. So we, a while ago, did a maple nut cookie as just a seasonal or a special. And then we stopped it. And we're about to bring it back. But we also took our first run at a miracle maple nut. So you can be the first person to taste the miracle maple nut cookie.
Wow.
And you can compare it to our traditional maple nut with milk, butter, and eggs.
Awesome. And so is there a secret? Are you using like a 1 cup flour or how are you getting to your no gluten?
Oh, right. Yeah. So for the miracle cookies, I spent months experimenting, and I use a 10 ingredient gluten-free flour mix that I came up with.
Wow.
I kind of came up with call it scientific approach to understanding what the different flours are and how they interact with each other. And just experimenting ended up with this 10 ingredient gluten-free flour mix. And amazingly enough, there's a little bit of skill in life, but they say it's better to be lucky than to be good. And this was an example because I originally just did gluten-free. And when I changed to miracle, meaning I substituted it out to make it vegan as well, turns out that my 10 ingredient gluten-free flour mix works even better with the substitutes, organic unrefined coconut oil and organic applesauce, than with butter. And so the miracle cookie actually tasted better than the gluten-free cookie.
Isn't that funny?
It's
Well,
delicious.
they're both delicious. Yeah. I can tell the difference because they're different textures, but I couldn't tell you if you were to ask me which one is the gluten-free or not, I wouldn't be able to tell.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from you, that's that's amazing.
So I feel like cookies are kind of having a moment right now. I mean, you're opening, it seems like you're opening a brick and mortar at the right time because I've seen like specialty cookie companies erupt in the way that we saw, I think, cupcakes and ice cream go through like the same moment. Do you feel that?
Yes. I have a different perspective than you being in the cookie business because it's just more competition.
Yeah.
But yes, I do feel that.
And so, how do people find your cookies now?
So two ways primarily, which is lovethisecookies.com. We ship anywhere in the country. We have some great gift items on the website. And in fact, this is one of them for Tom. That's our personalized cookie gift. And you go to the website and you can actually have the box that's shipped out, have your message printed on the label. I mean, not on the label, on a band that goes around the box.
Cool.
But in any event, lovethisecookies.com, we individually wrap the cookies so they keep well. And then at farmers markets and soon at a store in Kirkland.
Awesome. Where in Kirkland are you?
We're in the Fred Meyer complex. It's
Okay.
the exit north of Costco on 405.
Okay.
I don't know that area at all. You
It's
probably
just across
you
the
probably
str-
do.
Across the freeway from Sirius Pie. Yeah, the other side of
Oh, okay.
405.
Yeah.
So 124th area. there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, it is such a pleasure. I'm trying to think about what flavor I've been making of some. There's a company in South Sound that has making cookie dough that I bought at Wajimaya out of ube, so sweet potato
Ooh.
cookie dough, and I've been taking it and rolling it into my Chinese 12 spice rub, making ube snickerdoodles, which my daughter hated.
I was
when she
gonna
tried
say,
them.
God. Hated is such a strong word. I think I took a bite and I said, "Is there rub with
is there
love in
spice
it?"
rub on here? I bet your family treats you nicer than my family treats
Oh, my
me when you
goodness.
bring cookies to the house. Nice, warm cookies. Tell me about chocolate chip cookies in a second, because one of your competitors, Robin of Hello Robin Cookies, and we had a disagreement about the percentage of chocolate in a chocolate chip cookie. Because I think more isn't necessarily better. To me, a perfect balance is the way to go. How do you feel about chocolate chip cookies?
I think I feel the same way, though I don't know what balance you go for.
Balance is subjective.
Robin and I argued, is it I think her recipe was 30% chocolate chips by weight of a chocolate chip cookie, and I think I'm more in that 20% area.
I would have to do the math. I'm guessing I'd have to do the math. Yeah. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that it's all
Did you hear that,
about,
Robin?
it's all about balance.
Right.
I think the thing that people most like about our cookies, or one of the things they most like about our cookies, is the balance. They're soft, they're chewy, they're just a little crispy on the edges. They're not too anything, right? They don't smack you with just the chocolate. They don't smack you with just the sugar. Actually, our cookies have less sugar than most cookies, right? Most cookies, the number one ingredient is sugar or flour. Our cookies, the number one ingredient is dark Belgian chocolate. So it's all about the balance. In fact, our dark chocolate oatmeal cookie, when we started doing it, we used only one chocolate. Calibo chocolate was 60% cocoa. And some of our other cookies, we use a Calibo chocolate that's 55% cocoa and has extra cocoa butter. So it's a little smoother and creamier versus sharper and crunchier. And just by adding a little bit of that second chocolate to that first cookie dramatically changed it. So we're always tweaking
You're
the
always
balance.
tweaking. Well, it sounds so fun. Congratulations, the Cookie Monster.
Thank you.
And the name of the company is
Pinckney Cookie Cafe, aka lovethisecookies.com.
There you go.
Nice.
Up next, author Melanie Kahn is going to join us with her new book called Mason Goes Mushrooming. On Cairo, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Awesome.
These are so
Thank
good.
you.
It's so fun.
Cookies are like my number one treat
Awesome.
favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He said he eats cookies every day, and I'm like, how do you?
That's all he eats.
It's true. You make decisions.
Whipped cream or ice cream?
Actually, neither but ice cream.
Ice cream.
I don't like whipped cream.
I don't love whipped cream either, but I like ice cream on pie for some reason. But I don't like it on hot pie. I don't like it to melt all over the place.
Yes.
This is the gluten-free.
That's the miracle. This is still miraculously good.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. And so that is you call it your breakfast cookie. So Snickerdoodle. And it doesn't have eyesight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The miracle.
Yeah, so oat flour is one of the flours.
10 different flowers.
Like that oat and the apple.
Well, it's maple nut. Are you sure you're not tasting the nut? Here.
Almond, oat,
I went over and saw his space. It's very organized, and the way that he came up with this was impressive. Okay.
Oh my God. I'm going to break into that right now, Bridget.
Robin, in case someone sends you this and you want to have a fist fight about this, let's do it. I've been buying Robin's frozen cookies, or Jackie's been buying them. Have you seen her little frozen dough balls that she sells? Yeah. Anyway, it's fun to have in the freezer and just pop 2 in, and then you can bake them off, and it's.
I probably have more than. You are special, and this is special. I really enjoyed meeting you way back when.
Well, thank you. But that must be what, six or 7 years ago now, yeah.
And we were at the show, and you were wearing one of those cool aprons. And I asked who made the apron. I said, "What the apron? I'd like to get it." What? So, and you literally at the show took off your apron, and so I could take a.
Oh, Headley and Bennett, yeah.
Yeah. So I was touched.
Well, I enjoy that show. I like grassroots marketing like that. So. Okay, let's wrap this up. You want to join us for trivia, or are you? Well, that's up to you. I don't want
I
to.
would love to join you, but I am terrible.
Okay, all right. Well, you're welcome to hang out because we're gonna finish the show here. Okay, Bridget, you're on that mic. Next time you'll want to do it because you'll see it's if Bridget can do it, anyone can do it. Oh, that was funny right there.
Ouch.
That was funny stuff. So we've got every
Switch
other
them up.
segment
Just
done,
switch
right?
them up. Like
We
shuffle
We
them.
just have to figure out what we're going to do. Is Sean Del Corey's open to doing the editing? However, we want to figure out that.
Well, have Sean try and edit that segment with Fuchsia into the 9 minutes that we have. The big long one, the 14-minute one. He should be able to get rid of all the bad stuff. Like the one where I said, Sean, you're going to have to fix this. Yeah, no, just go ahead and send it to him. He's got the right equipment for
Well,
all
you
that.
should edit the part where it says, "Fuchsia, you're too intense."
No, I didn't say that. I said it about 10 times, actually. That book is intense. Anyway, yeah, so you can go ahead and send him now show number 1. And then this show that we're finishing up right now, we'll send him next week. He can do it for next week.
And then you need to do an intro, or do you want to do any different intro or anything? Or just
No,
leave
I
it?
think we're just going to
Okay, great.
try and make it work. We're going to see what he says
Okay.
after this.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh.
Pam wanted to sing on the show.
She wanted to. Have you ever heard Pam sing?
I can only.
There was a
imagine.
reason why we got that out of the mix.
She was cute. She asked, "Is this one segment or 2?" And I'm like, "Just 1."
Yeah. All right, let's jump into food for thought, tasty trivia. We've invited Brigitte back to talk to us, although you're not sitting in Terry's chair right now,
No, she's Bridget.
so she can be Bridget right now.
Thank you. I'm honored to be called Brigitte. No, it's fine.
Let Rub with Love. This is Sean. Can you fix that, please? We're going to jump into Rub with Love Tasty Trivia. Rub with Love can help spice up your holidays with delicious flavors that are also great for gifting. Please visit us at our Ballard Serious Pie, where their products are made, Seatown at the Pike Place Market, or here at the Hot Stove Society, also online. And a reminder, we are offering free shipping from our website for orders over $50.
What a deal.
What a deal. It can be a deal. It can be pricey out there. All right, Becky, let's play Tasty Trivia.
Well, just like last week, we've got a trio of experts here. We've got Loretta, Tom, and Bridget, because she's not sitting in the chef at the
Terry's
chef
chair,
host.
right.
Exactly. So you get 5 questions, and the winner gets to pick the winner in the audience.
See if I
Who
can
gets to
kick
take
everyone's booty again.
Again. Uh-huh. Well, we'll see. We're going to start with
I
you,
only
Loretta.
won last week because Bridget got the hard questions.
Well, let's start with Loretta. Why is a pound cake called a pound cake?
It used to be a pound of
Well,
every
you were talking
ingredient,
big here. Let's hear it.
right?
Absolutely. I'm impressed. Back in the 1700s.
A what? A pound
It
of
was a
what?
pound of every ingredient. It was
What
not
are
easy.
the ingredients, Missy? You're not going to get off that easy.
Flour, sugar, butter, eggs.
Yes. So it should be called a 4-pound cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. You got it.
Fine.
You thought that I wasn't gonna know.
I did.
Which food contains more vitamin C, peppers or oranges?
Peppers.
You got it. Peppers. Good job. A serving of peppers has 5 times more vitamin C than an orange.
Really?
Yeah.
We eat a lot
true
of peppers
fact.
in my house.
Excellent. What
The
two-
one vegetable I can force on a toddler.
on Hercules? What 2 words were combined to make the fine food product Spam?
What
I
was
know
the-
your dad knows this.
What was the question?
What 2 words are combined to make the fine food product Spam?
Ham and
Spiced ham.
spice.
Oh.
Mhm.
You would never.
Spice.
I would
was
never think
going
of that
for
ham being spiced, but I
spare
did know
parts
that.
and
Yeah.
ham.
Number 4. What?
I had it yesterday, by the way. It's like one of my favorite.
you did?
foods. Yeah.
Okay.
Spam fried rice for lunch.
Yum.
I like the way you looked down your nose at her when you said
No,
that.
I look sideways, not
Oh,
It was
down.
totally.
Sideways.
It was
I love
totally
Spam.
down.
Are you familiar with the New York Times game Connections?
yes.
Excellent. So it's a newish grouping game.
I love it.
Me too. It's hard. This will be easier. I'll give you 4 words and you'll let us know how they're connected.
Oh, okay.
Clams,
Okay.
oysters, mussels, and scallops.
They're shellfish.
Yes, they are. And they are
Oh my
actually
God.
bivalves.
Bivalves.
Bivalves in particular, but I'm going to give her that one.
Great,
What?
because I don't know what a bivalve is.
Whatever.
So some are single shell.
Excellent.
Oh.
Shell. So they're a bivalve if they're a double shell.
If they're a double shell. Okay.
Okay. And your final question, how might these 4 things be related? Chop, julienne, chiffonade, and dice.
Methods of cutting,
You got it.
or like a different, what your
Knife
product
cuts.
is cut
Knife
into.
cuts.
Knife cuts. Yeah.
So you got 4 out of 5.
Whew.
Right? Yes. Excellent.
Sean, can you fix that also, please? Just get up close to your mic. There.
I'm missing a question. I gotta come. Sorry.
You gave her 2 of the New York Times connection ones, right?
I just gave her 1.
2.
You gave her 2.
Is that an app now?
Wait.
The connection.
It's on the app. Yeah.
It's on
No,
their
so her
app.
4th
Yeah.
question
Ah.
was
On the New York Times games.
the bivalves. That's just 1.
That was one.
Right.
But then the next one was julienne,
the
chop.
connection also on the knife. You gave her 2 of the New York Times style questions.
I gave you the julienne question, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
before that, the
That was
Oh.
5 questions, but
not
that was also a
understanding.
pick from 4.
I didn't understand. So I already gave you 5, so I gave you 6 questions?
No.
We're done. It's fine. Next.
Okay.
you're not understanding.
I'm not understanding. But I do need
You gave her 2 questions that were from the game, the New York Times game, out of the 5. I didn't know if you
2
were-
of my 5 questions were like, how are these 4 things related?
I thought maybe you had one of those for each of us.
I only gave you 1 of the New York Times, right?
No, you gave her knife cuts.
But that was New York Times.
Okay.
That was just another way. Yes, it was. Yes, I understand now. I got it.
These
She shows, it's
Douglas
hard.
people are sharp.
I am really,
Is that good?
let me off the
Right. That's why I was trying to give you the heads up.
and I was
All of them. Brown butter, brown sugar, bourbon spice.
Glad he brought those for me.
Well, there's 2 of each, so we're gonna open 1 of each, and you can take the rest.
He didn't
home.
say
don't want
you.
this at
He
home.
said your team.
This is the type of thing you say you can't have at home.
okay. This
Yeah.
now I
Leave it here.
thank you for your patience. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Bridget, you ready?
So ready.
If you order an affogato at a restaurant, what might you get? An affogato.
An avocado? Oh, affogato.
Affogato.
You're like guacamole.
You
I
have
don't know.
so much cookie in your mouth it blocked your eardrums.
Avocado toast? No, you would get usually it's vanilla ice cream in a shot of espresso.
It's my favorite. I love it. You got it. True or false? The Chinese takeout container with its Japanese influenced origami folds did not come over from China. It's an American invention.
True.
That is true. In Chicago in 1984, inventor Frederick Weeks Wilcox patented his paper pail with a wire handle similar to the wooden pails that were used to transport oysters at that time.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Oh.
And did you know the trick that you can turn it into a paper plate? You can
Pop
turn
the
it
sides and
Yep,
it's a plate?
and it's a
Oh,
plate.
very cool.
very handy. Shoe and fill are 2 types of what food product?
Shoe, CHOU.
X. CHOUX.
Yeah.
And fill are 2 types of what food product?
FILLE.
Just FILL. Pastry.
So shoe paste is
Yeah.
pot of shoe.
She doesn't know what the fill part is.
Oh, just fill. It just said fill was
Milf.
no. It was just on this question. It was just a fill.
No,
It
it's
was
like
too
I
confusing.
think it's
You're
like the
just not
shoe dough,
pronouncing
the
it
shoe
right,
dough,
though.
and the
Feel.
fill make up like
Yeah.
an
No,
eclair.
yeah,
I
right.
actually didn't, this
Pastries,
one I
correct.
didn't make up. I really got this one off a site that I thought was good.
Milf
Right.
is it's puff pastry.
Right.
And shoe is the shoe paste, like pot of shoe for fitterolls.
So millfill is supposed to be 1,000
Right.
layers,
That's
right?
the but that
So I would give her that because I think that was
it was
the
confusing.
question
Okay.
was confusing.
You got it.
We needed.
Hopefully
we
they're going to
needed
edit some of
Terry
this
here.
out of it right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Number 4. What is the predominant vegetable in borscht?
Beets.
You got
cabbage, potatoes.
You got it. Let's see if you're going to get all of these. What is the difference between lox and gravlax?
Oh, you had this question before, but I knew the answer. So one is smoked. They're both cured, and one is smoked.
You got it. 5 out of 5.
Nice
done.
job.
Nice job.
I redeemed
Nice job,
myself
Bridget.
from last week.
Yes, you did. Okay, let's hope Tom's going to do the same. Pizza originated in Naples, Italy. Where did the Hawaiian pizza come from?
Naples, Italy.
Canada. It was
Canada.
a
Canada.
Greek-born Canadian created it in 1962. The name of this creation was inspired by the brand of canned pineapple he was using at the time.
I was going to say that Canada is famous for their.
Gourmet.
I used to watch them as a kid.
You still kicking?
It is the
Still
following
galloping.
a true or made-up headline? Once upon a time, the Catholic Church decided that beavers were fish.
It's true.
It is so true. The 17th century, since the semi-aquatic rodent was a skilled swimmer, the church declared beavers were fish so people could eat them during Lent when meat was prohibited.
Oh, see,
Very convenient.
it's not the first time the Catholic Church has kind of fudged the rules
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number
Having
4.
gone to Catholic school 1 through 12, I'm very familiar.
Well versed.
Yeah.
Yes. Number 4. Which popular confessionary was once used as currency by the ancient Mayans?
Chocolate.
Yes. They used the fermented and dried cacao beans as money.
Wow.
Okay, number 5. This is your connections question. Please name how these 4 things are related. Slotted spoon, cooking thermometer, spider, and a cooling rack with paper towels.
Deep frying.
Yes, things you need to deep fry.
Yeah.
So you got 5 out of 5.
Did I? No, I got my first one
Oh, I
wrong.
lost.
Oh my gosh.
The
For
pizza from
Becky's-
Canada,
yeah,
the
so
pineapple
you
from
tied,
Canada.
You
So
tied
it's
with Brigitte.
4.
you tried with Brigitte.
Congratulations, Brigitte.
Brigitte won. She got 5 out of 5. I got 4 out of 5.
I'm glad you're paying attention, producer.
Wow,
Goodness
producer's
sakes.
on it today, Becky.
Woo! Okay, I'm fired.
If you want to be part of the show, you can join the community on YouTube Live at Tom Douglas & Co. or buy a ticket to join us here in the studio at hotstovesociety.com. The show is produced by Becky Guzak, sort of.
Who's just been let
Sean
go.
McFadden is our technical wizard, and our talented editor at Cairo is Sean Don't Call Me Del Torre. Remember, if you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite podcast app.
Thank you for listening.
All right. Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
Let's try that again.
Are you going for more cookies?
Never bring cookies again. It's hard to get any work done around here when there's cookies about. Hi, I'm Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
This afternoon on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we welcome Chef Gerald Gutierrez of Otium Grill and Greens over there in the Cascadia neighborhood. Michael Pickney is here. He's the cookie monster. He's going to share his delicious gourmet cookie business ideas. We talk mushroom foraging with Melanie Kahn, and we get inspired by discussing festive holiday appetizers.